Important update about YouTube playlists. Hey everyone. We've received many messages asking why our YouTube playlists aren't showing up. Do we create YouTube playlists? Yes, we absolutely do. So why can't you see them? Honestly, we're not sure. We've been in contact with YouTube support for several months now, but we still haven't received a clear answer or solution. After much discussion, our team has decided to take matters into our own hands. We believe the issue might be related to the number of playlists we've created on a single channel, possibly too many. Our solution? We're launching 2 additional YouTube channels, giving us a total of 3. This way, we can organize our audiobooks better and avoid the playlist visibility issue in the future. This change only affects our YouTube audience. If you're a patron supporter, you can still access all our audiobooks by visiting the collection menu on Patreon. Thanks so much for your time and continued support. Happy listening, and both Shirogane and Fujiwara were instantly captivated. After a minute, the performance ended abruptly. The two snapped out of their daze. Takuman-kun. You can play violin? A little. Rinji casually returned the violin to the rack and stretched. I learned it from my old man. Where he learned it from, I have no idea. That was already a master-level performance. Fujiwara Chika praised. As someone with exceptional musical talent, she had extremely high standards when it came to music. And Renji's performance had truly impressed her. Can I ask you something? Chika suddenly leaned closer to Rinji with a smile. What do you want? Seeing that smile, Rinji instinctively grew cautious. Can we perform a duet together on stage someday? Chapter 94, The Sound of Death. Know your weakness and strive to improve yourself. How should I put it? Pretty average. Not great, but decent by normal standards. That was Fujiwara Chika's evaluation of Rinji's singing. Average is fine. It's not like we need to sing perfectly during the anthem at morning assembly. Just knowing it is enough. Rinji replied. True. But you did learn surprisingly fast. Chika smiled. Looks like I have a real talent for teaching. I won't deny that. Next up. Chika turned her gaze to Shirogane Miyuki. That leaves only you, President. Right. You should be able to learn faster than Rinji. After all, he memorized the lyrics on the spot, and you've already got them down. That's true. But the pitch issue. How bad is it? Just a little off. Then it's not a problem. Chika smiled. Give it a try. Sing a song for us. Alright. I'll sing then. Don't be shy, go ahead. Please stop singing. Fujiwara Chika clutched her ears and crouched on the floor in agony. Shirogane Miyuki's singing was absolutely terrifying. If a normal bad singer just made people uncomfortable, his voice felt like torture. It was like sticking sea urchins in your ears. President, you idiot. Why did you lie to me? Huh? What did I lie about? You said you were only a little off-key. Why is it this bad? I thought it really was just a little. Look at Takuman-kun. He's past outstanding. Chika pointed at Takuman Rinji, who stood frozen in place, his eyes blank. Hey. Rinji. Are you okay? Shirogane hurried over and shook his shoulder. Only then did Rinji snap out of it. President. That was honestly terrifying. Even you think it was bad? Shirogane finally began to reflect on his singing. Is it really that awful? Actually, I didn't hear the whole thing. Rinji removed the earplugs from his ears. He hadn't fainted. He'd just been blocking out the conversation with earplugs. If I had to describe the first part, it was like several weak flashbangs exploding beside your head one after another. Extremely effective. I don't even know what that means, but it has to be bad. I recorded it. You can hear it for yourself. Rinji pulled out his phone, connected an earbud, and placed it in Shirogane's ear. Then he pressed play. Well, President? Can you feel it? No way. This is really my voice? This garbage-level singing. Shirogane was shaken to the core by his own singing. Most people never hear their true voice due to bone conduction. What they think they sound like is often completely different from what others hear. That's why Shirogane had thought he was just a little off-key. Rinji had recorded it on purpose. From the moment he heard it, he realized Shirogane's voice could be used as a torture device. And a highly effective one at that. I don't think it's hopeless. With some practice, you could at least reach a normal level. Rinji said comfortingly. Although, singing isn't really my strong suit either. Fujiwara Chika nodded. True. Takuman-kun's violin playing is amazing, but his singing's just average. You say that like you're an expert. Aren't you one of those girls who's great at piano but average at singing too? I am not. Don't forget I taught you the school anthem. Chika was clearly dissatisfied with Rinji's comment. If I could teach you, then I can definitely teach the president too. Oh? Want my help? Not needed. Chika confidently thumped her chest. I might be average at other things, but in music, I'm a genius. You can go back to class now, Renji. Alright then. President, Fujiwara. Do your best. Got it. After Renji left the music room, Chika stood tall and faced Shirogane. President, from now on I'll teach you from scratch. Be prepared. Okay. 5 minutes later. Takuman-kun. Save me. Fujiwara Chika deeply regretted everything. She cursed her own stupidity. For she had personally opened the gates of hell. Shirogane Miyuki's singing had no talent whatsoever. She couldn't see even the faintest glimmer of hope. Why can't you even tell the difference between so and re, President? Shirogane sang them as if they were glued together. Just then, the music room door opened and Renji walked back in. Did you call me, Fujiwara? Thank goodness. Takuman-kun, you finally came to save me. Chika cried and threw herself at Renji like she had suffered some great injustice. You have no idea. President just. I know. I was worried, so I stayed outside the whole time. Renji said, peeling Chika off. The president's problem is with pitch. That'll take time and practice. I knew it. Shirogane sat on a bench with a bitter smile. I've never been good at singing. Back in elementary school, my teacher told me not to push myself. In middle school, classmates told me, just mouth the words during choir. If this keeps up, I'll always be a burden to those around me. It's okay, President. Renji gently placed a hand on his shoulder with a warm smile. There's still 1 week before the next assembly. I'll help you practice during that time. Really? Don't give up, President. Chika added. We've still got a week. Let's all work hard together. Shirogane Miyuki's story deeply touched Fujiwara Chika, making her forget the hellish trauma she had just endured. Chapter 95, What kind of god-tier plot is this? In the hallway of the school building, Takuman Renji walked alongside Shirogane Miyuki. Know your weakness and strive to improve yourself. Still practicing, President? Yeah. There are still a few days left before the next morning assembly. Since both you and Fujiwara-san are helping me so much, I want to at least be able to sing it properly next time. You've already improved a lot, but if you keep practicing like this, your throat will give out. As he spoke, Renji handed over a thermos. Drink some water first. I added luo and fruit. It's good for the throat. Thanks. Shirogane took a couple of sips and wiped the sweat from his forehead. Didn't expect to have to attend a union club meeting today. Feels like a hassle. Let me guess, the Shuchen VIPs are stirring up trouble again? Every few months they do this. It's their way of monitoring the student council president's work. Shirogane said. Sorry to drag you into this too, I know it's a pain. Not at all. Renji replied with a smile. They arrived at a large door, and Renji stepped forward to open it. Inside the dimly lit conference room sat only one girl. You're already here, Momo-senpai? Where's everyone else? Oh, they should be arriving soon. Ryuju Momo said while playing on her phone. Meanwhile, in the student council office, only Shinomiya Kaguya remained. Ishigami had already finished his work and left. Fujiwara Chika was also exhausted. Having been coaching Shirogane in singing after school every day. So she was resting in the classroom. Kaguya, as usual, was tending to her own tasks. That's when the office door was knocked. Who could it be at this time? Curiously opening the door, Kaguya saw a student in a white school uniform standing outside. The white uniform belonged to the Shuchen Middle School Division. The girl in front of her had flowing silver white hair and a refined face, causing Kaguya to pause momentarily. My, what a cute visitor. Huh? No. Realizing it was a bit inappropriate to call a middle school junior she didn't know cute. Kaguya quickly shut her mouth. She adjusted her expression and politely asked, Hello, may I ask who you are? Hello, I'm Shirogane, treasurer of the middle school student council. She replied. Shirogane? Shirogane? Kaguya stared in shock at. She's the president's younger sister? Now that I think about it, there is some resemblance. Like those intimidating eyes. Now knowing it was Shirogane Miyuki's little sister, Kaguya's attitude instantly became warm and welcoming. Come in, little. Shirogane-san. Thank you. Sat on the sofa. Kaguya poured her some tea and sat down beside her. This is the president's sister. I have to get on her good side. Did something happen? Is that why you came here? Kaguya asked gently, doing her best to sound soft and kind. If you're looking for your brother, he went out with the treasurer to attend the joint club meeting. I think the treasurer is Renji, right? Yes, it's Takuman Renji. Wait, what did you just call him? Renji replied. He's my brother's friend and often visits our house. My dad says he's like the eldest son of our family. Honestly, I think of him as an older brother since he takes care of me so much, so I just call him Renji. I see. Kaguya's lips twitched slightly. Damn it. The worst case scenario has happened. Takeman Renji has already infiltrated the president's home. For some reason, Kaguya started worrying that this boy might interfere with her romance. I've heard about the joint club meetings, said, now looking concerned. I heard that once, an externally admitted student council president slacked off, and in the end, his whole family had to leave Japan. That's just a rumor. Kaguya reassured her with a smile. Just a rumor? Yes, they only went to Cambodia for work reasons. Isn't that just exile? Holding her teacup, couldn't help but worry. Is it really okay? My brother's always just that way. And Renjin is so gentle. What if they get targeted? Kaguya. The president's a decent person, and how the heck is Renji gentle? I'm afraid it'll turn out like this. Imagination. Judo club president, student council reps, why are you so late today? Kendo club president, getting too comfy in your cushy little student council jobs? Inside a dimly lit room, the student club leaders, powerful figures in Shuchen, sat in silence, watching as Shirogane Miyuki and Takeman Renji stood trembling like punished schoolboys. I don't think we're late? Smack. Shut up. I'm the one asking the questions. So sorry. Shirogane bowed deeply. I think it's time to replace the student council president. Sneered Tenboyumi, head of the occult research club. That's not fair. Renji stepped in front of Shirogane, emotional. The president is always dedicated to serving the students. A lowly external student like you dares to interrupt? Snapped the Kendo club president. Seems no one taught you the rules of Shuchen. Let's send you off somewhere remote to cool your head. Wait. Renji cried out as several black-clad men entered and seized him, dragging him away. Shirogane clenched his eyes shut in frustration. As the doors closed, Renji vanished from Shuchen forever. Now, let's continue the meeting. End imagination. Could it really end up like that? Kaguya. What kind of god-tier drama is this? If only Takeman Renji were that easy to get rid of. You don't need to worry. Kaguya softly reassured her. That kind of thing won't happen. Really? Of course. Because the actual situation was. In reality. You bunch of losers. Takeman Renji stared coldly at the joint club council members. Excluding Ryuju Momo. You were the ones who asked for this meeting, yet you show up later than the president and me? You useless slackers couldn't even eat hot crap on time. Do you want to be kicked out? The judo club president raised a timid hand. I don't think we're late. Shut it. You trying to stand out? So sorry. Chapter 96, Kaguya feels betrayed. Although the club council members were annoyed by Renji's harsh words, they had no choice but to endure it due to his status and personality. Back in the day, whenever the Union Club Council assembled, even the student council president would have to treat them with utmost respect. Shirogane Miyuki was no exception. At least at first. But everything changed when Takeman Renji joined the student council. Not only was he completely unafraid of them, he didn't even bother being polite. The Union Council existed to protect the interests of school clubs and to supervise the student council president. If a president failed at their duties, they could work together to remove that person. And in extreme cases, exile their whole family from Japan. But now that Renji had joined the student council, they could hardly interfere anymore. Alright, I don't care about your lousy attitudes. Let's see what you nobodies have come up with this time. Ladies and gentlemen. Takeman Renji narrowed his eyes as he swept his gaze across the room. You've got some nerve. Ever heard of showing respect when entering a temple? You come to the president about the club budget proposal without even contacting me, the treasurer? Am I invisible to you? No, not at all. Everyone shook their heads in unison. Let me ask then. Whose bright idea was it? Whoosh. All the members of the joint club council instantly raised their hands and pointed straight at the stunned Kendo club president. Wait, you guys. He looked around at their expressionless faces, feeling utterly betrayed. You again. Renji's gaze sharpened. He pulled out his phone from his pocket. Still don't know the rules, huh? Maybe a stint in Africa will teach you a lesson. Wait. Alright, calm down, Renji. Shirogane quickly stepped in to stop him from dialing. Well, since the president himself said so. Congratulations, you dogs get to keep your lives. Renji turned off the screen and put his phone away. Alright, let's get back to the meeting. Don't worry, President and Takemen-kun will be just fine. Shinomiya Kaguya reassured gently. I hope so. By the way, did you come here today just to see your brother? Not exactly. I'm here because of a document sent by the Central Student Council. I prepared a report as treasurer and was hoping to consult with Rinji, but since he's not here, I guess I'll drop it. Kaguya. Seriously, Rinji and the president are practically like family now. But at least he's a guy, so he's not that much of a threat. I guess. Still, I really need to pick up the pace. If you don't mind, could I take a look at the document? Kaguya smiled. I'm the vice president, and I'm pretty good with this sort of thing. Eh? Really? Of course. Kaguya was trying to present herself as a strong and capable woman, hoping would grow to rely on her. Then we can build an equal relationship. Go out together sometime. And she'll call me Kaguya-Nisan. Then I'll get invited to their house for dinner. Ah, why is this plan so perfect? Kaguya got lost in her own little fantasy. Click. At that moment, the student council door opened. Fujiwara Chika stepped in from outside, immediately spotting K sitting on the sofa. Ah. It's K-chan. Chika-Nisan. K beamed with joy upon seeing her. Kaguya. What? Calls Fujiwara Chika-Nisan. Fujiwara Chika, not noticing the darkening aura around Kaguya, walked over cheerfully and said, Kaguya-chan, I guess you didn't know. K and my little sister Moa are classmates in the middle school division. We hang out together all the time. That's right. Wanna hang out this weekend? Sure. Kaguya. The president's little sister calls Rinji Nin Fujiwara Chika-Nisan. They've both gotten ahead of me. Is everyone in the student council connected to the president's family except me? Why is this happening? Where did I go wrong? Feeling betrayed by the entire student council, Kaguya fell into a spiral of self-doubt. Oh, sorry. Another person walked through the door. It was Ishigami Yu. I forgot something here. Who's this? Ishigami didn't recognize and was confused by the sight of a middle school girl in the student council office. Ishigami-kun, this is Shirogane, the president's sister. Fujiwara explained cheerfully. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you too, Shirogane-san. After a quick greeting, Ishigami turned and met the glittering eyes of Shinomiya Kaguya. What is it, Shinomiya-senpai? Thank goodness. Huh? Ishigami-kun, you're the only one who hasn't betrayed me. Ishigami? Chapter 97, How to Get Closer to Takam and Rinji. Even though I knew this would eventually happen if I stayed in the student council long enough, it still hurts now that it actually has. Same here. The union club meeting had already concluded yesterday. As treasurer, Takam and Rinji had to compile and calculate the budget for the next quarter, so he stayed in the office today to do his work. Shirogane and Fujiwara were in the same class, which was currently occupied with class duties, and Ishigami only showed up when he had specific tasks to do. Which meant the only people left in the student council room today were Shinomiya Kaguya and Takam and Rinji. This sucks. Why do I have to be alone in the office with you? I should be the one asking that. The tension was palpable. Such an academy often had cases like this, sons of hostile corporations forced to interact, Yakuza daughters paired with police officers' sons, heirs of rival families vying for inheritance. In short, conflict was common. Likewise, there was conflict between Rinji and Kaguya. Not just between families, but personal conflict. Rinji himself held a grudge against the Shinomiya family. It wasn't some inherited feud. It was personal and direct. This is frustrating. I never imagined I'd be left alone in the student council office with him. But thankfully, he promised he wouldn't cause trouble at school. That's something, at least. Kaguya sipped her tea and glanced at Rinji, who was typing away at his keyboard. Thanks to Ai Hayasaka, she had known Rinji from 4 years ago. Back then, he was a cheerful, smiley little boy. Though they didn't talk much, Hayasaka had told her about what kind of person he was. If he said he wouldn't cause trouble, he wouldn't. Still, for someone who used to be so honest and sweet, how did he end up doing something so insane 4 years ago? As Kaguya sipped tea and loafed around, Rinji focused intently on his work. Well, based on his work ethic over the past few months, I can tell he holds no real hostility toward me. He's probably just annoyed that I'm from the Shinomiya family. He argues with me sometimes, but nothing outrageous. That said, there's one problem. Kaguya's eyes narrowed slightly. Anyone with a bit of awareness could see that the person currently closest to Shirogane was Rinji. Not only did they spend time together, but Rinji had even visited his house and gotten along well with his family. So, if Kaguya wanted to accelerate her get the president to confess plan, she needed intel. And Rinji was the best source. But how should I talk to him? We're not exactly close enough for him to spill secrets about the president. If I'm too obvious, he'll get suspicious. So the only option is to get closer. Takam-kun. What? Rinji kept typing, not even glancing her way. You must be tired from all that work. Want me to make you a cup of coffee? Thanks, but I'm good. He pulled a canned coffee out of his bag and set it on the table. TCH. He's really well prepared, huh? Kaguya began to think up her next move. If you want to get closer to someone, the best way is to talk about common interests. No exaggeration. Kaguya was a genius. From the awards she'd won growing up, she'd covered almost every field a high school student could. She could talk about anything. Even if just superficially. Thankfully, I asked Hayasaka about what's trending recently. Boys are probably into things like idol groups or pop culture. But Renji. He's. Kaguya's eyes widened. She had no idea what Renji was into. They barely talked. How was she supposed to guess? What is it? What kind of things are you interested in? She asked with a smile. She had no choice but to ask directly. Whether he'd answer or not. She had no idea. Things I'm interested in? Let me think. Great. He's thinking of an answer. Now I just need to follow up on what he says, and we'll establish a basic connection. Kaguya clenched her fist secretly, optimistic. Yes, things you're into. I'm sure you have your own hobbies. Yeah, I do. Renji looked up thoughtfully. I think Israel's Arrow 3 anti-missile system is really impressive. Also, the latest developments in electronic warfare technology from various organizations are worth studying. Oh, and the modified version of the ECS electromagnetic stealth system from the last century was recently upgraded. Kaguya. What is this man even talking about? I don't understand a thing. As mentioned before, Kaguya was not very tech-savvy. And as for military equipment, she understood even less. I completely miscalculated. He's not an average guy at all. What's wrong, Shinomiya heiress? Kaguya quickly covered her mouth. She had accidentally spoken her thoughts out loud. What do you mean I'm not a regular guy? There are plenty of military nerds among normal boys, you know. Why yes, you're absolutely right. She gave a nervous chuckle and tried to regain composure. Never mind that. He must have other interests too. Wait, didn't he confess to Hayasaka before? He probably still has feelings for her. Maybe I should talk about Hayasaka. In Kaguya's imagination, Renji-kun, do you know Hayasaka? Oh, of course I know her. How's she doing lately? Takeman Renji's interest was instantly piqued. Well, these days. Shinomiya Kaguya smiled and began talking at length about Hayasaka. Wow, I didn't expect you to be so close to her, Lady Shinomiya. Renji said admiringly. Of course. Hayasaka is my personal maid. You're already dead. Eh? End of imaginary sequence. I'll die for real if I say that. Kaguya was completely stuck. Chapter 98, Breakup Consultation. Kaguya was in a stalemate. To effectively capture Shirogane Miyuki, the Takeman Renji route was absolutely necessary. But her current relationship with him was deadlocked, and she had yet to find a way to break through. Sure, she could try circumventing Renji entirely and directly advance on Shirogane. But after 6 months of knowing him with zero progress, it was obvious that something was off. By contrast, Renji had joined the student council after her, yet was already close enough to Shirogane that even Kaguya felt jealous. I have to think. I must find a way to deal with Takeman Renji first. Knock knock knock. Come in. Kaguya paused her thoughts and called toward the door. The door opened, and in came a cute girl with shoulder-length black hair. I'd like to ask for help from the student council. What can we? Renji, who had been typing, also looked up when he heard the voice. He immediately recognized her. Hello, Kashiwagi-san. Hello, Takeman-kun. Kashiwagi Nagiisa, a second-year student in Class 2B of Shuchin Academy. She was also a member of the club union, Shuchin VIP, daughter of a major shipbuilding company's CEO, and granddaughter of a leading economic group director. You're not even in a club and still made it into the club union. I've got to admit, that's impressive. You brats really love causing trouble for us. Why do you always start insulting me as soon as I walk into the student council room? Kashiwagi laughed bitterly. She knew full well that Renji never got along with the club union to begin with. Takeman-kun, she's your senpai. Show a little respect. Kaguya said helplessly. Respect my ass. Japan was strict about seniority. Even in school, juniors were expected to show proper deference to upperclassmen. But Renji treated those rules like trash. Or more precisely, any rule he didn't personally recognize, whether social or legal, he considered irrelevant. This arrogance was deeply rooted in the environment he'd grown up in. So, Kashiwagi-san, what can we do for you? Kashiwagi hesitated, then quietly said, It's a relationship consultation. Here we go again. Do Japanese high schoolers ever study? It's always about dating. Can't we have something fresher? A little blood, a little violence. Anything. Takuman-kun, your values are seriously skewed. Kaguya said. She turned to Kashiwagi and asked, a relationship consultation? That's totally fine. You've never even dated. Don't end up twisting yourself into the same confusion. Takuman-kun, shut up. Fine. Rinji picked up his laptop from the coffee table, clearly intending to leave the area. If you're gonna do lovey-dovey stuff, I'm out. But he hadn't walked far when. I want to break up with my boyfriend. Kashiwagi said to Kaguya. Kaguya, eh? Plaque. Rinji slammed his laptop back onto the table. Now that's interesting. Eh? I have only one thing to say about your decision, bravo. Rinji gave Kashiwagi a thumbs up. Kaguya, hey, wait a minute. Excellent decision, Kashiwagi-san. Maybe you don't realize it yet, but one day you'll be thankful you made this choice. Kaguya, why are you suddenly acting like some wise old mentor? Rinji ignored her and asked, so have you broken up yet? Not yet. I'm just thinking about it. Stop thinking. Time is money. Go break up now. The sooner the better. That's enough. Kaguya yelled, pushing Rinji aside. Then, forcing a polite smile, she turned back to the slightly bewildered Kashiwagi. So, what made you suddenly want to break up? Kashiwagi lowered her head, speaking softly. Well, back then, he suddenly confessed to me, and I was so startled that I just agreed. But we've been together for several days now and we don't really know how to interact. We haven't done anything a couple normally would. I feel like I'm just wasting his time and emotions. Maybe breaking up would be better. Kaguya, about that. Rinji, breaking up is great. You'll have more time to study. Kaguya, can't you say anything else? Stop encouraging breakups all the time. I'm just helping end relationships that were doomed anyway. Gotta take the shot when it's offered. You're saying your real thoughts out loud again. Just to check. Rinji turned to Kashiwagi, the guy you want to break up with. Is he from our school or another? He's in the same class as me. His name's Tsubasa Tanuma. Kaguya. Rinji. They exchanged glances. Apparently they both remembered him. There's this girl in my class. Her name's Kashiwagi Nagiza. I want to confess to her. Tsubasa Tanuma, Shiragane's classmate. He was actually the very first student who came to the student council for love advice. Both Rinji and Kaguya remembered this black-haired guy. And his confession target was now standing right in front of them. Just curious, how did he even manage to succeed in his confession? Rinji asked cautiously. He cornered me against a wall and slammed his hand next to my head. I was startled and somehow said yes. Kashiwagi replied. Rinji. So, should I break up with him after all? Yes. I see. I'll go then. Wait. Rinji raised his hand to stop her. What is it? This Tanuma Tsubasa. After he succeeded in confessing, did he ever ask you out? Like for a date or something? No. Not even once? Nope. Understood. Rinji leaned back on the sofa. Before you break up, tell him to come apologize in the student council office. Huh? Why? Because this idiot wasted the opportunity he was given. Chapter 99, Waiting for the Girl Who Can Accept My Sins. Tanuma-san, I'm genuinely disappointed. Oh. Rinji took a sip of tea and glanced sideways at the trembling Tsubasa Tanuma sitting across from him. You've wasted all the time and effort the president and I put into cultivating you. Yes, I've been reflecting on that. You have to understand. Normally, I can't stand people who come here with relationship problems. They love to show off. But you're the president's classmate, so I didn't kick you out. I even helped you. I'm really grateful for that. When I heard you succeeded, I was honestly happy. Thanks, really. Slam. Rinji smacked the coffee table, making Tsubasa jump. But after you succeeded, you did absolutely nothing. No dates, no walking her home, nothing. Do you seriously need me and the president to teach you what to do after a confession? Well. Tsubasa scratched the back of his head awkwardly. If possible. Yeah, I'd like that. Teach you my ass. TCH. Now I'm so pissed I'm speaking dialect. Kaguya sat silently on the office sofa, sweating a little as she watched Rinji roast Tsubasa. But she didn't intervene. Because this was a good chance to learn about Rinji's way of thinking. To win over Shirogane, she had to get closer to Rinji. But his mindset was anything but ordinary. So now was the perfect opportunity to understand his view on love. You young people really don't plan anything ahead, do you? Takuman. Rinji sipped his tea and let out a sigh. If I had successfully confessed back then, I would have had everything planned out afterward. Dates, marriage, honeymoon, having kids, all of it. Shinomiya Kaguya. You were already thinking that far ahead at age 12? So Takumen-kun failed a confession before? You little brat, are you trying to mock me just because yours succeeded? Not at all, not at all. Honestly, it's exactly because you had no plans after succeeding in your confession that you're getting dumped. Renji said with disdain, turning his head away. I have no respect for people who succeed in confessing but don't cherish it. Wait. I'm getting dumped? Tsubasa Tanuma hadn't realized that just earlier, Kashiwagi Nagisa had asked the student council how to break up with her boyfriend. If you keep this up, I promise Kashiwagi-san's going to dump you. How can this be? Tanuma jumped up in a panic. I really do like Kashiwagi-san. If it ends like this, then you need to take action. What should I do? Please teach me. Fine. First, Tanuma, stand up. Okay. Tsubasa nodded and got up from the sofa. Renji walked over to the side and opened the student council office door. Here, stand right here. All right. Are you in position? All set. Tanuma stood at the doorway, looking back in confusion at Renji. Then, with no warning, Renji raised a leg and kicked him square inches the butt, sending him flying out the door. Ah. You need me to teach you everything? Can't you think for yourself? Get out of here. With that, Renji slammed the office door shut. What an idiot. In the end, you still helped him. Kaguya said with a chuckle. Help, my ass. If he screws up again, he deserves to get dumped. Well, I have a question. What? Didn't you want those two to break up in the first place? Renji. Kaguya. Renji. Oh right. You just realized? Watching him slump powerlessly back onto the sofa, Kaguya found herself curious. Everything Renji had done up until now seemed so different from the blood-drenched child she'd once heard about. It was hard to believe the teenager before her was the same kid who, just 4 years ago, killed without blinking. Takumen-kun. What do you think about Hayasaka? Setting aside their family feud. Something Kaguya, as an outsider, couldn't really intervene in. What she truly wanted to know was the nature of the relationship between Hayasaka and Renji. I liked her a lot. Do you still like her now? More or less. Why are you suddenly asking this, Shinomiya heiress? Renji glanced over at her. Now that you mention it, I remember. Every time I invited Hayasaka out, she'd have to run back after just a few minutes. That was probably because of you, wasn't it? Well. Kaguya glanced away guiltily. It was true. Hayasaka had been raised as Kaguya's personal attendant from a very young age. Her daily life revolved around Kaguya, and she wasn't allowed to stray far from her side. She had very little personal freedom. Back then, every time she met with Renji, it was done in secret and with extreme caution. If she were caught going out alone, she'd be in big trouble. She and you seem quite close. We're very good friends. Kaguya didn't have the nerve to tell the full truth and settled for calling them friends. I see. As her friend, I know that she only rejected you back then because of her family situation. Kaguya said. Takumen-kun, have you ever considered confessing again? You might succeed this time. This was all Kaguya could do for Hayasaka. If Renji and Hayasaka got together, not only might she get intel on Shirigane, but at the very least, she might be spared her life. It won't work. Renji said flatly. Huh? Why not? Hayasaka probably realized something. That I'm not a good person. Of course you're not. Kaguya thought silently. From the day I was born until now, countless people have died either directly or indirectly because of me. My hands are soaked in blood. Yeah, you killed 74 members of the Shinomiya group alone. I think by now the death toll must be in the 5 digits, that many. Kaguya inwardly screamed. No girl would ever fall for someone with blood on their hands. That's why I'm waiting. Renji looked down at his pale hands, murmuring. Waiting for a girl who can accept the burden of my sins. Chapter 100, Grandpa's here kid, let me tell you something. What is it? I still think you're pretty damn strong. But. Renji's father stood before a dilapidated building, gazing at the bloody corpses scattered in every direction. Some hacked to pieces. Then up at the child standing atop the pile, blood-stained face calm and expressionless. You went a bit overboard, don't you think? When you identify someone as the enemy, you must do everything you can to send them to hell. The young Renji replied emotionlessly. Besides, compared to you, this isn't even much. Compared to me, sure. But. Even I didn't go around chopping people up at your age. And that was during wartime. He stepped forward, kicking a corpse out of the way like it was trash. I'm a man with blood on my hands. I don't think I have the right to criticize you. Everything is your choice. But what I hoped for, back when you were born, was that your generation wouldn't have to pick up weapons. War is a grown-up's job. You didn't want me to take up arms? His father paused at the question, then smiled gently and reached out to pat young Renji's bloody head. If it's your choice, I'll personally place the weapon in your hands. But? Young Renji looked up at his father with crimson eyes, trying to grasp the meaning of his words. But, if possible, I hope you won't follow my path. I want you to walk your own. Ugh. Throwing off his blanket, Renji sat up in bed and stretched with a yawn. It was the weekend. Unlike other students who had packed schedules, Renji usually did only two things on weekends. First, he stayed home, since Ishigami would come over around a fixed time to play games. Second, he'd go over to the president's house to hang out, and while he was there, help prepare dinner for everyone. Right now it was Saturday morning. Ishigami wouldn't show up until afternoon, so Renji's usual routine was to play some games until then. No one ever invited him out anyway. Next weekend I should try going out on my own for once. Yawning, Renji thought aloud. He'd probably start going to the gym soon. He wasn't totally satisfied with his current physique. Knock knock knock. He had just finished changing when he heard a knock at the door. No one should know where he lived. Ishigami was definitely still sleeping, and neither Shirogane nor the other student council members knew his address. Could it be Aunt Kaya? That was the only person he could think of. Renji walked to the entryway and peeked through the door viewer. One look, and he nearly jumped. He quickly flung the door open, and the old man standing there in a trench coat hurried inside, catching his breath as he entered the apartment. Phew. Grandpa, what are you doing here? SHH. Don't speak so loud. The old man quickly shut the door and ran to the living room window, cautiously peeking outside. After confirming there were no suspicious figures, he exhaled deeply and slid down against the wall. Grandpa. I'm really sorry, little Renji. Dropping by like this must have caused you trouble. At the table, Renji poured tea for the elderly man, whose face finally began to regain some color. This was Renji's real grandfather. Not like that Grandpa George honorary nonsense. His actual grandpa. Grandpa, what happened? Weren't you supposed to be in Canada with Grandma right now? Little Renji. His grandfather's expression turned unusually serious. What I'm about to say. You mustn't be afraid. Don't worry, I won't be scared no matter what. Takuman Renji replied earnestly. It seemed his grandfather had run into trouble. With his father not around, Renji would have to step in and handle it. Listen closely. I'm listening. His grandfather took a deep breath and said, Your grandmother found out about my affair. Renji. She's chasing me all over the world right now. Renji. I had no choice but to hide out at your place first. Seeing his wary-looking grandfather, Renji sighed and pulled out his phone. Wait. His grandfather quickly grabbed Renji's arm. You're not going to call your grandmother, are you? What else? Why would you do something so cruel? Didn't I dote on you enough when you were little? You've always treated me very well, Grandpa. Then why? But Grandma's also treated me very well. And I wouldn't dare cross her. So just go in peace. Renji said, about to dial. Don't. We can talk this out. No, this can't be negotiated. Renji had heard a bit about his grandfather's history from his father. Apparently, in his youth, Grandpa was quite the playboy. Always hanging around with women and frequenting red light districts. Supposedly he cleaned up his act after marrying Grandma. Though it seemed that was only on the surface. Have you no concern for your grandfather's well-being? You're not going to die. Even if Grandma catches you, she's not going to kill you. Renji said blandly. At most, she'll beat you half to death. But family harmony is everything, and a little pain should be nothing for you. It's a lot of pain. I might end up spending the rest of my life in a wheelchair. Then take it as a lesson learned. Renji buried his face in his hands, speechless at his grandfather's behavior. Grandpa, you're already old. Why are you still messing around with women out there? Who said I was fooling around with older women? Grandpa said indignantly. Then why is Grandma so furious? It's because I got involved with a girl in her 20s. Grandpa said, proudly. Hello, Grandma? It's Renji. Grandpa's with me right now. Want me to deliver him to you, or will you come pick him up? No. Chapter 101, Grandpa teaches you how to get a girlfriend in any case. Grandpa, you'll be staying in Japan for now. Until Grandma comes to drag you back, you can stay here. Renji placed 2 freshly cooked dishes on a table in front of his grandfather. Oh, your cooking has improved, little Renji. Thanks. Consider this a good meal before you go back to Grandma. Next time I see you, I might have to feed you personally. Don't say such scary things. With talk like that, how could I ever go back? Whether you want to or not, you're going. And if you end up paralyzed, that's on you. Little Renji, let's make a deal. What kind of deal? When your grandmother asks. Just tell her I already ran away, how's that? Not happening. Rinji coldly rejected his grandfather's suggestion. You just sit tight. I'll report your location to Grandma truthfully. I see. Then I'll just tell her where you live. Grandpa said suddenly. Go ahead. You really don't mind? Your grandmother misses her precious grandson very much. So what? She recently bought a bunch of pretty clothes. Women's clothes. Hearing that, Rinji visibly shuddered. Don't scare me. I'm in high school now. No matter how much she enjoys that twisted hobby, Let me think. Grandpa said, pretending to recall. Those weren't kids' clothes. They were trendy women's outfits. Enough. Where do you plan to hide? Rinji gave in. His grandmother's hobby was indeed strange. He'd suffered enough because of it as a kid. I knew it wasn't for nothing that I spoiled you. Grandpa took 2 more bites, then pulled a small notebook from his pocket. Let's see. I should still have a few old flames in Japan. Maybe I'll stay with. How did Grandma not smash your head in with a frying pan years ago? Don't ask. I barely made it out alive back then. This one seems good. You really are something else. Rinji let out a deep sigh. It was honestly frustrating. His grandpa was well into his senior years and still managed to attract women, while Rinji, in the prime of youth, couldn't even get a girlfriend. By the way, Rinji, do you have a girlfriend now? No. TCH. Of all people to take after, why our dad? Not dating in high school. How shameful. I love studying. Studying makes me happy. Rinji said with a straight face. Your dad was the same. Never acted like a proper young man. Always sneaking off to work on that dumb company of his. If it weren't for what happened in '99, your grandma and I would still be in the dark. Grandpa sighed. Back then, we were really worried we'd never have grandkids. His emotional intelligence was so low we thought he'd never marry. Luckily, he did. I still don't understand what Mom saw in him. So, Rinji, are you also not dating because you're chasing some big dream? No, I'm not dating because I just can't find anyone. Sigh. Neither of you are anything like me. Good thing, too. I see. Grandpa snapped his fingers. I just happen to have a few tricks I can teach you. Don't give me that look. Even if your grandmother's chasing me down, I do know a thing or two about wooing women. Who asked you to? Rinji stopped mid-sentence. He lowered his head, thinking. Just as Grandpa said, putting aside his adulterous ways, he really did have more experience in this area. Maybe it wouldn't hurt to hear him out. Want to learn? Yeah. Good. Grandpa nodded with satisfaction and leaned in, lowering his voice. First, you need to learn how to dress yourself. A real macho man doesn't need flashy looks to prove anything. Who told you that? My dad. That boy nearly died a bachelor. Don't listen to his nonsense. Grandpa clicked his tongue. I mean, you should pay attention to your style. Why do you think I can still attract women at my age? Just dye my hair, shave, throw on a suit. And boom, a sharp, successful middle-aged man. That part was true. Grandpa was in great shape for his age, and with a bit of grooming, he didn't even look 60. And look at you. Never mind clothes. You won't even trim your hair. Keep this up and you'll just end up attracting men instead. You can't hit your elders. You can't hit your elders. You can't hit your elders. And you've got to be sociable. Don't go on and on about your own hobbies. Talk about stuff girls like. Compliment them now and then. Okay. At some point, Rinji had pulled out a notebook and started writing down notes. And finally, the most important point. Go ahead, Grandpa. You need money. Don't give me that look. That girl in her 20s I mentioned? She had a fresh out of college boyfriend. And who did she choose? Me. Know why? Why? Because even without working, my monthly pension is several times higher than that guy's annual salary. Only kids believe in pure love. How do you know the woman you like is with you because of love, or just because she wants a stable, easy life? Grandpa patted Rinji on the shoulder. You'll understand when you step out into society. It's about time. Grandpa finished his meal, grabbed the trench coat from the coat rack, and headed for the door. I'm gonna slip out now. Cover for me, okay? Click. With the door shut behind him, Grandpa left the apartment. Rinji looked down at his notebook, densely packed with scribbled notes, and casually tossed it aside. He might not be super rich, in his own opinion, but he wasn't exactly poor either. And yet, even his confession got rejected. Clearly, Grandpa's wisdom didn't apply to him. Chapter 102, Working out. After seeing his grandfather off, Rinji washed the dishes and flopped onto the couch to rest. His dad had already warned him about what kind of man his grandfather was. And from childhood memories, Rinji had a pretty good idea. The only time Grandpa was ever truly behaved was probably back when his dad was still in school. Back then, Grandpa could be kept in check. But once his father became independent, the old habits came back. Rinji and his father didn't inherit any of Grandpa's bad habits. They were both serious about relationships. And yet, despite their seriousness, the number of victims they'd left behind, well, it was too many to count. If you really thought about it, the only normal one of the three generations was Grandpa. Other than being an old pervert, at least he hadn't killed anyone. In short, this family never really produced a good guy. Hello? Grandma? Yeah, Grandpa ran off. No, I didn't let him go, don't worry. I've got his location under control. I'll keep you updated. Eh? Where do I live? Oh. The signal's cutting out, Grandma. I'll hang up now. Wishing you good health, goodbye. After hanging up, Rinji let out a long sigh. Whether it was Grandpa or Grandma, dealing with the older generation just wasn't his forte. Buzz. He felt his phone vibrate and saw that it was Ishigami calling. Hello? Hey, Takuman, I probably won't be able to come over today. My family's going out for dinner. Got it. Have fun. Thanks. After the call ended, Rinji put the phone back in his pocket. With Ishigami not coming over at noon and his visit to the student council president's house being in the evening, that left him with free time. He picked up a gym flyer lying nearby and checked the address. Perfect time to hit the gym. Silverman Gym. This should be the place. With a gym bag slung over his shoulder, Rinji arrived in front of a massive building. At the top was a ridiculously flashy statue of a muscle-bound man. It was the closest gym to his home and had a great reputation. The reason he came here was to work on his physique. If he could bulk up, it wouldn't matter if his face was on the prettier side. He could still look masculine. Let's go check it out. The gym was spacious, the floors were spotless, and the hallways were well maintained. Overall, a clean and professional environment. Hi, I'm here to take a look around. You must be Takuman Rinji, who called earlier. The receptionist greeted him with a professional smile. Please follow me. I'll give you a tour of the training room. Thanks. When he pushed open the door, he was greeted by an entirely different scene. A group of shirtless, muscular men were hard at work training, grunting loudly as they lifted. The air was thick with sweat and heat. This is a newly opened branch. Silverman Gym has over 3 million members across 28 countries. Many who train here are professional fighters or bodybuilders. Are you interested in training here? Yes, sign me up for an annual membership. Seeing all the muscle-bound guys in the room confirmed to Rinji that he had came to the right place. He envied muscles deeply. After filling out a quick form and receiving his membership card, Rinji returned to the training room. This time greeted by a young man with black hair and a blue tracksuit. Hi, are you the new member, Takuman-kun? Yes. I'm your trainer, Macho. Are you here to observe today, or are you training? I'm here to train. By the way, are you the only trainer? Rinji had his doubts about this guy named Macho. To put it nicely, Macho looked clean. Not at all like the burly, bear-like instructor Rinji had imagined. He seemed almost skinny. Maybe he's just a theory guy? There are other trainers, but they're currently busy. Macho said with a smile. What kind of training would you like to focus on today? Muscle building. Rinji pointed at a group doing bench presses. I want to build muscles like them. I see. Macho glanced at Rinji's physique. He was on the skinny side for a guy. Let's start with a physical evaluation. Alright. Looking over the report in his hands, Macho's face showed a trace of confusion. An uncommon reaction from him. What's wrong? Do you already have a background in fitness? No, but I've always been fairly active. That explains it. Macho laid out the report for Rinji to see. Height, 175 centimeters. Chest, 85 centimeters. Waist, 70 centimeters. Other than looking a bit slim, no major issues. So what's the issue? Your weight. You look like you should weigh under 55 kilograms, but you're actually 80 kilograms. And most of that is bone and muscle. Your body fat percentage is extremely low. Is that not normal? Not unheard of, but still pretty rare. Macho set the report aside and smiled again. Alright, let's start with a basic training test. He walked over and picked up a dumbbell labeled 10 kilograms. For your size, I'd normally recommend starting with 3 kilograms. Too heavy and your form can suffer. But given your unusual stats, I've tripled it. Rinji expressionlessly lifted the dumbbell and put it back. Too light. It wouldn't even be effective. Fair enough. Feel free to pick something more suitable. Okay, I'll take this one. Without another word, He picked up a 50 kilograms dumbbell from the bottom rack. Effortlessly. It was the heaviest dumbbell in the gym. Anything heavier required a barbell. I can kind of feel the weight. I'll go with this. When he turned around, he saw Macho standing there with his head lowered, face unreadable. Macho-sensei, what's wrong? Nothing. I just need to completely redo your training plan. Chapter 103, Coach, I want to learn this. Macho-sensei, we're here. Oh, Sakura-san and Akemi-san. Macho turned around with a friendly wave. Entering the gym were two girls. One was a lively blonde with tan skin and twin tails, the other had fair skin and long straight black hair, exuding a refined, agile-sama-like aura. Judging by appearances, both were high schoolers. Every time I come here, it feels like entering some bizarre world. The energetic blonde, Sakura Hibiki, let out a dry laugh as she looked around at all the yelling muscle men. It was a scene you definitely wouldn't see outside. Akemi Soriuin, standing beside her, however, looked quite pleased with what she saw. Speaking of which, we've got a new high school member here today too. A high schooler? Where? Over there. Macho pointed to where Takemin Renji was doing bench presses. Renji was currently lying on a bench, lifting a barbell as he counted aloud. Sakura walked over curiously and was instantly stunned the moment she saw his face. Wow! A pretty boy in a gym? That's rare. Every guy she'd seen here was muscle-bound. Renji stood out completely. Like he didn't even belong in the same art style. Unaware of the new arrivals, Renji kept pressing the bar. 30. 31. 32. Finally, a clean-looking hottie. He's a little too pretty, but still. Hey, Hibiki. Huh? Akemi tugged on Sakura's sleeve with a shocked look on her face. That barbell. The weight. Huh? Sakura glanced at the bar Renji was pressing. And nearly passed out. 1, 2, 3, 4. 450 kilograms plates, and 125 kilograms plate. That's 450 kilograms. Akemi said seriously. Nearly half a ton. She stared at Renji in disbelief. She couldn't comprehend how such a slim-looking guy could be casually benching nearly half a ton. Without even breaking a sweat. Macho furrowed his brow and finally called out, "Stop." Renji put the bar down and sat up. So, how was that, Macho-sensei? Your physical condition is even more incredible than I imagined. How should I put it? The density of your muscles and bones is terrifying. And when I compare your performance to your appearance, it's like your muscles are growing inside your bones. Is it still possible to build more muscle? It'll be difficult. Can I ask about your usual diet? For breakfast, a glass of milk and 2 fried eggs. Lunch is usually a red bean bun. Dinner depends. Sometimes I skip it. On weekends, maybe I'll eat out once or twice. I see. Then I think you could stand to eat more regularly. Macho said. Here, I've got some protein powder. You can drink a serving about half an hour after training. Alright. As Takemin Renji chatted with Macho, Sakura Hibiki came over. Hey, you're new here today, right? Yeah, that's right. It was only now that Renji noticed the two girls who had shown up at some point. Both were easily in the beautiful girl category based on looks. Do you go to school nearby? Yes. I'm a first-year high school exchange student at Shuchin Academy. My name is Takemin Renji. I'm Sakura Hibiki, second year at Koya Girls Academy. This is Soriuin Akemi, same year as me. Akemi gave Renji a curious glance and asked, what made you want to come to the gym? Lately I've been kind of bothered by my appearance. So I guess I want to build some muscle. Renji pointed to the muscle men behind him. Like those guys. Sakura imagined Renji's handsome face combined with the kind of grotesque musculature. Smack. She placed both hands on Renji's shoulders and shook her head in horror. Her twin tails swayed side to side as she shook. Don't do it. It'd be terrifying. Huh? That's not a fair thing to say. Akemi objected. Building muscle is a beautiful thing. Those sleek biceps. The pectorals. You muscle maniac, of course you'd say that. Haha, actually, Renji-kun, you have a lot of potential. Macho grinned, patting Renji on the shoulder. As long as you stick with it, you can build an amazing physique. Really? Of course. At that moment, Macho suddenly dropped into a squat and struck a crab pose. His blue tracksuit started to puff up. Boom. Before Renji knew what was happening, Macho's clothes exploded in an instant. Fabric scraps hit Renji in the face. He pulled them off and was greeted by a shocking sight. The previously slender Macho had suddenly swelled into a towering, muscle-bound beast. His height now approached 2 meters, and his explosive musculature looked as if it could burst at any second. Ah! Here we go again. Coach Macho always busts out his muscles for no reason. Sakura seemed used to this sudden mutation and turned to Renji with an awkward smile. First time, right? Surprised? But mid-sentence, she saw the sparkle in Renji's eyes. Literally shining. The word envy was written all over his face. Coach Macho. I want to learn that. Oh? I want to learn how to flex my muscles so hard I explode my clothes. It's awesome. Is that so? Macho struck a series of bodybuilding poses and laughed, then let's train hard together. Let's walk the path of muscle. Oh. Sakura. Watching Macho pose and Renji beam with excitement, she couldn't help but feel that this rare pretty boy was falling into darkness. Renji-kun. What is it? Sakura sighed and took out her phone. Can I add you online? Oh, sure. Chapter 104, Young people should learn to treasure their lives. Today's my lucky day. I got a pretty boy's line. Sakura hugged her phone with a huge smile. For a girl who came to the gym hoping to meet someone, getting the line of an ideal guy was definitely worth celebrating. Wait a second. Why is his line profile pic a muscle man? She stared at the new contact labeled Dakuman Renji. The avatar was the muscular back of a bodybuilding celebrity. Looks like he really wants to bulk up. Macho, still in his muscle demon form, laughed behind her. Please no. It doesn't suit him at all. Ha 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 ha. Coach Macho. A staff member at the gym suddenly called out. Macho walked over, puzzled. What's up? That barbell earlier. The one stacked with all the plates. Who was using it? That was Renji-kun. A new member today. Hard-working kid. Macho replied with a smile. Why? Well. Just come take a look. Confused, Macho followed the staff to the bench press area where Renji had trained. One look at the barbell and Macho's face turned serious. This is. The weight plates on both ends were fine. But the bar itself had been damaged. The solid stainless steel bar was bent on both sides, clearly warped by someone's grip strength. Coach Macho. This is kind of terrifying. I know. But nothing too serious. Just replace the bar. Macho forced a smile. Right. I'll get on that. Gulp gulp gulp. It was already late when Renji left the gym. As he walked, he drank the protein shake Macho had given him. Bench pressing 450 kilograms had no effect on him. Even at 600 kilograms, it still felt effortless. Macho said he'd look into equipment overseas for their next session. After finishing the shake, Renji pulled out his phone and made a call. Hello? Hey, President? Sorry, my gym session ran late. Is it still okay if I head over? No problem. Dad won't be home till late anyway. Replied Shirogane Miyuki. You guys must be hungry too. Want me to pick up something? There's a supermarket nearby. I'll cook tonight. Just grab some bean sprouts and eggs or whatever. Try to keep it under 10,000 yen. 10,000, huh? Renji could tell Shirogane wanted him to pay this time. Usually Renji bought the ingredients and cooked, and Shirogane probably felt guilty about it. But considering their family's financial situation, this was his way of contributing. Given that Shirogane made 1,000 yen an hour on weekends, spending 10,000 yen on groceries was a big splurge. Got it. I'll keep it under 10k. Thanks. When do you think you'll arrive? About 40 minutes after I buy the groceries. Alright. After hanging up, Renji looked at the darkening sky and headed toward the supermarket. About 20 minutes later, Renji walked out carrying a bag of groceries. Besides the ingredients Shirogane asked for, he'd also picked up some snacks for Shirogane. The sky was fully dark now, and the street lamps were lit. Seeing that the Shirogane home was only 2 kilometers away, Renji decided to walk there slowly. As he strolled through a nearby dim alley, he checked the time on his phone. Should be enough time. But just to be safe, maybe I'll jog. Suddenly, Renji sensed something was wrong. A faint metallic scent of blood lingered in the air. And faintly, he could hear screams. And the sound of shouting. He followed the noise. It grew louder. Along with the thuds of fists hitting flesh. Up ahead, a short man was hiding behind a utility pole, peeking nervously. Sir. Eek. The man jumped in fright. But when he saw Renji, a high school boy, he sighed in relief. Scared me half to death. What are you watching? Renji was about to take a look when the man blocked him. Wait. Kid, don't look. You'll have nightmares. That's a little dramatic, isn't it? Ignoring the man's panicked tone, Renji stepped forward and looked toward the commotion. Before he could get a clear view, a loud boom rang out. A massive shadow blocked out the streetlight above, casting darkness over Renji and the man. Ah! The man dropped to the ground and covered his head, screaming. Renji just frowned slightly. And raised his hand. Boom. Something massive crashed toward him. It was a hulking, 2-meter tall brute with massive muscles. But his face was bloodied and twisted as if smashed by a blunt weapon. Renji caught the 100 kilograms plus man one-handed, then looked forward. There stood a man in a hoodie, face splattered with blood. So it was just a street fight? I thought it was something more serious. Casually tossing the unconscious muscle man to the ground with a dull thud, Dakuman Renji turned to the still trembling uncle and said, "Call an ambulance, and if you're up for it, the cops too. I've got dinner plans at a classmate's place, so I won't get involved." Without waiting for a response, he picked up his grocery bag and kept walking forward. As he passed the man in the hoodie, the latter suddenly grinned maliciously and swung a palm toward Renji's neck. Smack! But it didn't land. His hand was completely stopped, gripped tightly in Renji's palm. The man wasn't flustered. Instead, he smiled and said, "You're strong, aren't you?" "I'm all right. So, can I go now?" "Fight me." "I'll pass." Renji turned to face him, his pupils glowing a demonic red in the dark alley. "Young man, you should treasure your life. Don't go throwing it away." Chapter 105, Today's been full of strange people. Sorry, President. Looks like I'm a bit late. No worries, no worries. I should be the one apologizing. We keep making you come cook for us every Saturday," said Shirogane Miyuki, rubbing the back of his head awkwardly. "Let me handle dinner tonight, just this once. Let's do it together." Renji smiled, set the bag down, and started taking out the groceries. Then he pulled out a popsicle. "President's little sister, this is for you. Hope it hasn't melted." "Thanks, Renji." Shirogane took the popsicle, unwrapped it, and began to lick it happily. The weather had been heating up lately, and Shuchin Academy had already switched to summer uniforms. Summer vacation was only about a month away. "By the way, Renji, it feels a bit weird that you keep calling me President's little sister. Just call me K." "Alright, then." Renji carried the groceries to the stove and put on the apron hanging on the wall. The Shirogane family's apartment was tiny. Kitchen and living room were basically one space, not even separated by a sliding door. Shirogane Miyuki put on his own apron and joined him, beginning to prep ingredients. "Renji, aren't you spoiling too much?" "I don't see it that way. I just treat her like my own little sister." Renji smiled. "I'm an only child. I've always wanted a sibling." "That must have been lonely, right?" "Not really. My parents had pretty relaxed jobs, so we went out a lot. Plus, some of my dad's old colleagues had kids, and we used to play together all the time. I never really felt lonely." "Sounds like a good childhood." "Yeah, and there were always pretty aunties visiting the house. They used to take me to really fancy places." "You mean those women who paid you to call them mom?" "Yup. Your dad. Sounds like quite the character. I never really understood it. He's always laughing like an idiot, but people are somehow afraid of him." Renji shrugged. "You always talk about your dad, but you never mention your mom." Miyuki asked curiously. "My mom, huh? Let's just say she is basically a perfect woman. I rarely bring her up because there's nothing to complain about. Unlike my idiot dad who's clearly got a screw loose." Renji chuckled. "I used to ask him all the time how someone like him managed to marry my mom, and he'd always put on a smug face and say, 'What can I say? Your old man's just lucky.' That's really enviable, honestly." A faint smile appeared on Shirogane Miyuki's face. His own mother had left when he was little. Though not divorced from their dad, she'd been missing for years now. Because of that, Miyuki had to help carry the burden of the household from a young age. He really envied complete families. The warmth and joy they seemed to have was more valuable than anything. "Don't worry, President." Renji placed a hand on Miyuki's shoulder. "Even if your mom is gone, you've got me. I'm your big bro now. Don't try to take advantage of me." Miyuki laughed and punched Renji lightly on the shoulder. Renji just laughed heartily. After dinner was ready, Shirogane Papa came home from work. Seeing the food already set on the table, he looked over at Renji. "You come cook for us every Saturday. We really appreciate it." "It's no trouble." Shirogane Papa sat down, picked up his chopsticks, and looked at the dishes. "Looks like you used some pricey ingredients again today. The steak and cod on the table were clearly not cheap." "Oh, today I went to the gym, and my coach told me to eat more high-protein food," Renji replied. "Speaking of which, I ran into a street fight on my way back. Tokyo's been getting really dangerous lately." Shirogane Papa sighed. "More and more punks on the street. Be careful, Renji. Guys like you, slim and delicate, are the types they target." Since Renji had gotten close to the Shirogane family, Shirogane Papa now spoke to him quite casually. "I thought the same, so I got a full-year gym membership," Renji said, "and that punk today actually tried to pick a fight with me after beating someone up." "What? Are you okay, Renji? Seeing their worried expressions, Renji smiled and waved it off. I'm fine, don't worry. Still, these guys are getting more and more reckless. So how did you get away? Asked, curious. Oh, I slammed the guy into a wall. Huh? I never told you guys, but I'm actually really skilled. Renji said. Ordinary punks aren't a threat to me. Really? Doesn't look like it. Looked him up and down. With that slender frame and pretty face, if not for being a guy, he'd probably have to worry about being kidnapped on the street. That punk had some tricks, though. Looked kind of weird. I knocked him out once, but he got back up in seconds. His skin even turned red. Like a roasted sweet potato. Then I slapped him into the wall again and he passed out. Renji spoke as he reminisced. Between guys whose muscles explode out of their clothes and weirdos who turn red, I sure ran into a lot of strange people today. Still, I'm kind of jealous of their muscles. I wish I had a body like that. Forget it, Renji looked at him seriously. Muscles don't suit you at all. Why does everyone say that? Anyway, things are dangerous out there. Shirogane Papa said, glancing at the clock. It was already late. It's too risky to go home now. Why don't you stay the night? Can I? Of course. Miyuki said with a smile. Final exams are coming up in less than a month. Let's review together tonight. I can help with anything you don't understand. Sounds good. Chapter 106, You have the right to look down on everyone. My younger brother on my back, wishing to return to Yamato. What does that mean? Is it describing a soldier carrying a child to a Yamato-class battleship? No. The Manyoshu era didn't have battleships. At night, while Shirogane's father was washing the dishes, Takeman Renji and Shirogane Miyuki had returned to the latter's room to study. Luckily, Shirogane hadn't thrown out his first-year textbooks. Otherwise, Renji would have had to go home to get his own. Speaking of the Shirogane family's apartment, it really was tiny. Just a one-bedroom unit with a living room and bathroom. Their father slept in the living room, while Miyuki and K shared the cramped bedroom, separated only by a thin curtain. Because Miyuki's room was near the door, the two often caught glimpses of K, dressed in pajamas, walking back and forth between the living room and bedroom during their study sessions. That phrase means, watching my beloved younger brother depart for the land of Yamato. I see. I don't get it, but I'll write it down anyway. Renji made a note in his notebook. You really aren't good at classical literature, are you? Shirogane chuckled. But that's normal. It takes effort for foreign students to learn Japanese, and classical texts are especially hard. Yeah, I guess it's a weak point of mine. Wait, do Japanese first-years study classical literature already? Shuchin is kind of special. Because of its high academic standard, the curriculum is more advanced. Their review session had originally started with second-year top student Shirogane tutoring first-year fifth-ranked Takeman Renji. But sometimes, when it came to extremely difficult science problems, it was Shirogane who had to ask Renji for help. Your science scores are surprisingly high. One of my few strengths. Renji replied. I was already solving Japanese high school math problems when I was really young. As for classical literature, I just memorize it. Understanding the emotions and thoughts of the authors? That's where I'm hopeless. So are you planning to major in science later? Haven't thought that far. Right now, I just want to make more money. Renji said. Most people study hard to get into a good university so they can land a decent job after graduation, right? Well, that's true. But you don't really need to worry about that, do you? Shirogane remembered very clearly. This younger student of his was already a technical advisor for a major company. And his family? Rich. Very rich. I don't really need to worry about survival. Renji admitted. I just enjoy the process. Also, part of me wants to say to my old man, look, your son's made something of himself. I see. Shirogane couldn't really relate to what Renji was saying. He worked part-time just to survive. He wasn't particularly gifted, all of his accomplishments came from relentless effort. The countless used-up pencil leads on his desk were proof. He was the kind of guy who studied himself to death every day. But there was no other way. The only thing Shirogane had going for him was his academic performance. He had to keep studying, keep pushing forward. Only by doing that could he ever hope to stand beside the so-called genius Shinomiya Kaguya. In contrast, Renji. He was what a real genius looked like. His learning ability far exceeded Shirogane's. And not just in studies. His appearance, his family background, his position in society. Everything about him was elite. He already held a high-level job at a big company despite being so young. A side-by-side comparison revealed an unmistakable gap between them. So why does the president study so hard? To get into your dream college? I guess. But mostly because it's the only thing I'm good at. If I didn't have academics, I'd have nothing else to show for myself. Shire again looked up at the ceiling, a trace of melancholy in his voice. Wasn't in the room right now, so he could speak more freely with Renji. Maybe I was never meant to be Kaguya's destined one. Shire again smiled bitterly. You're right. Renji replied flatly. You think so too, huh? Hearing Takam and Renji's words, Shire again Miyuki didn't get angry. He knew Renji wasn't good at lying. Sometimes, the truth could hurt. Don't get me wrong, President. Shire again looked over at Renji and saw that his expression had turned uncharacteristically serious. I said this a long time ago, it's not that you aren't good enough for Shinomiya Kaguya. It's that Shinomiya Kaguya isn't good enough for you. Huh? Didn't you just say that because you have a grudge against the Shinomiya family? True, I was deliberately belittling them because of that grudge. But I also genuinely believe it. Renji said. I just think you need to have more confidence. A girl like the Shinomiya heiress is just one of many you could choose from. That's why I said it. Isn't that going a bit too far? She's the eldest daughter of the Shinomiya Zaibatsu and a genius to boot. In terms of family and individual status, But you're the student council president. Huh? Shire again was momentarily confused, but Renji simply continued, you're the president. The one Takaman Renji, recognize. That alone gives you the right to look down on anyone. Takaman Renji was a proud person. Something about him that would never change. And pride often made others dislike you. That was certain. But for Shire again Miyuki, Renji's arrogant words were oddly comforting. I got it. Brushing back his hair, Shire again's confident smile returned to his face. Of course someone like Shinomiya would need a man as exceptional as me. Exactly. Renji grinned. The fireworks festival during summer vacation is a great opportunity. You should take this time to plan carefully. Alright. By the way, Renji, got any advice? Me? What advice could I possibly give? If I knew that stuff, I'd already have a girlfriend. Then who does know? Ishigami probably does. He's played hundreds of gal games. I'll ask him on Monday. And just like that, the conversation veered from studying to dating. What they didn't know was that just moments ago, Shire again had been leaning against the door, licking a popsicle. She hadn't heard the full conversation, but from what little she caught, it seemed her brother might like someone. Though she didn't catch who. And also. So Renji doesn't have a girlfriend, huh? Chapter 107, The Injured Young Man. Early morning. Shire again Miyuki rubbed his eyes and slowly woke up in bed. He looked around blankly. He remembered reviewing for finals with Takam and Renji the night before. How did I end up? Renji saw you fall asleep, so he carried you to bed. Huh? Right. Now he remembered. They'd stayed up late studying. It had started as a usual review session. Miyuki wanted Renji to go to bed first, but Renji showed no signs of drowsiness. So naturally, Miyuki kept going too. But in the end, he was the first to knock out, dozing off at the desk. Now, he looked around and saw that he'd been changed into pajamas, and even had a blanket over him. You invited someone over to study, but in the end, Renji had to take care of you. You're more useless than I thought. Renji really is a gentle guy. Hey, don't look at me like I'm a bug. Was giving him that classic my brother is so pathetic look. Humphrey. Hey. I'm still an impressive guy, okay? Renji used to be under my command in the student council. I really don't get how Renji never agreed to work under you. Because of my excellent leadership. Wait. Shire again squinted. You've been oddly fond of Renji lately. Why? Shut up and go die. Used to his sister's behavior, Shire again got up and walked to the living room. Their father was already at the dining table. Wow, breakfast is surprisingly fancy. Renji made it. He got up early while someone was still snoring. Stop dissing me all the time. Wait, where is Renji? Shire again looked around the small room but didn't see him. He left after making breakfast. Their father said. Said he had to go to the hospital. Didn't say why. I see. Tokyo, Setagaya Ward, a certain hospital. Takam and Renji entered the hospital and headed straight for the reception desk. Excuse me, could you tell me where room 6 in the ICU is? And you are? I got a call to visit a patient today. Can you show me the way? Of course. Once she understood his purpose, the nurse led Renji through the hospital. As they walked, she chatted with him. The patient was brought in last night. Dislocated wrist, both tibias and proximal phalanges in his right hand completely fractured. And the worst part? His chest looked like it had been hit by a blunt weapon. His heart had already stopped by the time he arrived. He's still alive? Surprisingly, yes. Tough guy. The specialists managed to revive him, And he woke up this morning. Honestly, who hits someone that hard? She sounded genuinely concerned. She'd been shocked when the ambulance arrived. She thought they were bringing in a corpse. As they approached the single-occupant room, she whispered, "You're a high school student, right? Are you friends with the patient?" "Oh, not friends." "Huh? Then why visit him?" "I covered his medical bills. Just here to see how he's recovering. Not here to collect." "I see." The nurse smiled warmly. "This young man must be really kind." "Of course." Rinji smiled. "After all, I'm the one who beat him up." Her smile froze instantly. Rinji ignored her and opened the door. The room was filled with medical equipment. The same scrawny middle-aged man from last night sat nearby. But the bed was empty. "Mr. Yamashita, you're the patient." "I'm pretty much healed." A young man, around 180 centimeters tall with a strong build and mop-like hair, was doing stretches on the floor. Rinji instantly recognized him. It was the guy he'd wrecked the night before. "How are you feeling?" "Almost fully recovered." He didn't seem to hold a grudge at all. Standing up, he stared Rinji in the eyes with a toothy grin. "Fight me again. Can't you go bother someone else?" Rinji's brow twitched. Rinji stood 175 centimeters. This guy was 182. Rinji had to look up just to meet his eyes. Ahem. The small, sweaty middle-aged man walked over, nervously laughing. "If you guys must fight. Not in the hospital, please." He'd seen their clash last night firsthand. It was like two prehistoric beasts colliding. Even just standing nearby felt suffocating. "Oh, Mr. Yamashita. Thanks again for last night." Rinji lowered his gaze to look at him and shook his hand. "Sorry I had to leave everything to you afterward." "It's fine, really." After slamming the punk into a wall, Rinji had handed a check to Yamashita and asked him to send both injured guys to the hospital, leaving a contact number just in case. "So what's the name of this punk?" "Oh, he's Takata Oma." "That's my name." The young man cut in. "Takata Oma, huh? What a mouthful." "Whatever." Rinji looked at him and said, "You know, I could have killed you last night. But I'm generous with talent. I even paid for your treatment. If you pull this stunt again, I'll buy you a coffin." "You're arrogant, kid. Geez, didn't learn your lesson, huh?" Chapter 108, Entangled Interests. "Didn't I already tell you?" Rinji looked calmly at the eager Takata Oma. "One more time, and I'll bury you. You weren't going to live long anyway. Don't waste what little time you have left on me. You're really arrogant, brat. But strong too." Takata Oma grinned with fighting spirit. "But I never said I'd die by your hand." Whoosh. The moment the words left his mouth, he launched forward and disappeared. In the next instant, Rinji saw a fist flying at his face. Boom. A dull impact. Not Rinji getting hit. Takata Oma went flying, crashing hard into the ceiling. Cracks spread across the plaster. Blood splattered from his mouth, and when he fell back down, something in his body made a sickening crack. His abdomen had visibly caved in. "Serves you right. What's so fun about fighting, anyway?" Takeman Rinji spoke calmly and withdrew his extended leg. He turned his head and saw Yamashita Kazuo, who was now visibly shaking, though surprisingly, he hadn't run off. "Mr. Yamashita." "Why yes, sir." At the sound of Rinji's voice, Yamashita immediately stood straight like a soldier. "If the medical expenses aren't enough, let me know," Rinji said, pointing at Takata Oma, who was unconscious on the floor behind him. He had to admit, this guy's physical durability was definitely abnormal. A normal person would have been bedridden for 6 months after the kind of beating he gave him last night. Yet this Takata Oma was already up and moving around the next day. Actually. Yamashita, clearly intimidated by the clean-cut-looking high schooler in front of him, still managed to shakily take a check out of his pocket. It was the check Rinji had given him yesterday. "I wanted to return this to you." "Huh? You didn't use it?" "No." "Then who paid for this guy's medical bills?" "Our company president did." Yamashita explained. "He also said he'd like to meet you today." As Yamashita was speaking, the door to the hospital room opened. In walked a middle-aged man with slick back hair, followed by a young, intelligent-looking woman with blonde hair in a business suit and glasses. The man had a cigar hanging from his mouth and immediately spotted Takata Oma lying on the floor, Rinji standing nearby, and a nervous Yamashita. Lively bunch for this early in the morning. Rinji glanced at Yamashita, who explained, "When we sent them to the hospital yesterday, for some reason President Nogi found out and covered the costs for both Oma and the other injured guy. He also asked me to get in touch with you this morning." "Is that so?" Rinji smiled faintly, then turned back to the middle-aged man. "Appreciate the gesture, old man." "Oh, it was just pocket change." The middle-aged man exhaled a ring of smoke from his cigar. President, no smoking in the ICU. The woman beside him said flatly as she pushed her glasses up her nose. Ah, right, sorry. The man chuckled, quickly stubbed out a cigar on the wall, then pulled a business card from his pocket and handed it to Rinji. Rinji took the card and looked at the name on it. Nogi Group? I think I've heard of you. A well-known company in logistics and publishing, right? Rinji asked. You're the boss? Yes, I'm Nogi Hideki, president of Nogi Group. He gestured to the woman beside him. This is Aki Yamaguchi, my secretary. Pleasure to meet you. Since you helped pay for the medical expenses, I owe you one. If you ever need anything, feel free to reach out. Goodbye. Rinji turned and headed for the door. Actually, I really do need something from you. Just as Rinji reached the doorway, he froze, then slowly walked back to Nogi with a look of disgust. Old man, when I said feel free to reach out, that was just a polite expression. I didn't mean for you to actually bother me. Now it was Nogi's turn to be stunned. Goodbye. Wait. Seeing Rinji about to leave again, Nogi grabbed his arm. Here's the deal, the guy you beat up was someone I planned to hire for a job. But now, well, you can see the situation for yourself. Oh, so you want compensation now? Rinji casually lifted Takata Ome off the ground and tossed him onto the hospital bed, then sat on a nearby chair. How much? Well, actually, I was going to have him help me win a certain competition. There's a lot of money on the line. Cut the chatter. Just tell me how much I owe. I wasn't planning on paying anything since he threw the first punch, but since you've been polite, I'll help cover your losses. Ah. No. I never intended for you to pay anything. Nogi said, waving his hands. And to be honest, I doubt you could afford the damages anyway. Obviously. If you named a number I couldn't pay, I'd just beat you up instead. Since I don't need to pay, thanks for your generosity, President Nogi. I'll be leaving now. Wait. Please. I'm begging you. Just hear me out. Seeing Rinji about to leave again, Nogi grabbed him once more, silently cursing how hard this kid was to deal with. What is it exactly? Nogi let out a breath, his expression turning serious. Mr. Takaman. Or should I say, Takaman Rinji, former Middle East Operations Second Lieutenant, now Technical Advisor for East Japan Research Division. You've done your homework. And that's not all. I also know that 4 years ago, a large number of Shinomiya Group subsidiaries were bombed, with 75 employees killed. You were the mastermind, weren't you? What? Yamashita Kazuo jumped back in terror, and even the secretary Aki Yamaguchi covered her mouth in shock. They couldn't believe this 16-year-old boy had done something so terrifying 4 years ago. So what if you know? You here to avenge the Shinomiyas? No, I just happened to discover the financial interests behind that incident. Nogi continued, Mr. Takaman, you know Chairman Katahiro Matsudo of Dainapon Bank, right? Chapter 109, Kengan matches the Shinomiya Group. Or rather, the Shinomiya family. Held power in Japan far beyond what most could imagine. With total assets exceeding 200 trillion yen, their industries spanned nearly every sector. It was no exaggeration to say the Shinomiya family controlled the lifeline of Japan's economy. For a conglomerate of that size to suffer destruction of its subsidiaries and the deaths of its employees should have caused nationwide unrest. But somehow, both the Japanese government and the Shinomiya family themselves completely suppressed the incident. You could understand the Shinomiya family's reasoning. They didn't want negative press to cause a stock collapse. What was harder to understand was the Japanese government's response. Were they protecting the Shinomiya family? Possibly. But the strange part was that they didn't even pursue the actual perpetrator. Takaman Rinji. If he hadn't applied pressure, Rinji would have at least spent a few days in prison before being released. But in reality, he didn't even get a chance to warm the seat in the holding cell. The moment he arrived, an order from the top demanded his immediate release. I did some digging into what happened 4 years ago. Nogi Hideki said. The Shinomiya family took a massive blow. Oh? But I noticed something strange. He paused, adjusting his posture. Let's go back to one day before the incident. Around that time, a large number of foreign institutions, as well as some domestic zaibatsu, began short-selling various Shinomiya Group stocks. Then the very next day, you struck. It was as if they already knew you were going to act. Nogi had long suspected it. Takaman Rinji's actions may not have been a simple act of terrorism. There were likely enormous and hidden financial interests behind it. Within a week of your attack, dozens of the Shinomiya Group's stocks collapsed. That's when someone began buying them up. And that buyer turned out to be Dainapon Bank's Nogi-san. Without anyone noticing, Takaman Rinji was already standing directly in front of him, his voice cold. You can investigate these things, but is there any benefit in saying them out loud? If you don't care about your own life, at least consider the safety of your subordinates. My apologies. Let's leave it there. If you talk too much, the people at the top in Japan won't let you live. I'll pretend I didn't hear anything. Renji lifted his head and glanced at Nogi Hideki, whose expression had grown slightly tense. I do know Katahiro Matsudo. Interesting old guy. You want me to help connect you? Yes. But before that, I'd like to ask if you've ever heard of Kengan matches? Kengan matches, huh? Renji tilted his head in thought. I've heard of them. The so-called Kengan matches were a kind of combat tournament that dated back to the Edo period in Japan. To put it simply, they were underground death matches. But they weren't just mindless fights. Wealthy businessmen would stake their business interests on the matches by sending in their own hand-picked fighters known as gladiators. And the fairness and rules of the Kengan matches were overseen by the Kengan Association. The current chairman of the Kengan Association was none other than Katahiro Matsudo, the president of Nippon Bank, whom Renji had just mentioned. In essence, Kengan matches are just a way to give financially clueless amateurs a chance to gamble with their capital. Renji said with a smile. So, you want me to contact the old man so you can become a Kengan Association member? To participate in the Kengan matches, a company must first become a registered member of the Kengan Association. Without that, entry is impossible. No, I'm already a member. I even have my own fighter. Nogi replied seriously, but now I'm facing two problems. Go on. The first. Nogi raised one finger. My original gladiator was someone with the title Naya. Name, Kamada Shigeru. But he was defeated by Takata Ouma. He looked toward Takata Ouma, who was still lying on the hospital bed. Ouma beat Kamada to take the spot as our gladiator. Logically, that means Ouma should now represent Nogi Group. But then, he was beaten unconscious by Renji, and no one knew if he'd still be able to fight. The second issue is what I want to ask your help with. As Nogi said this, his expression grew more serious. I want to challenge Chairman Katahira to a Kengan match. And your goal? I can't tell you right now. Even if you don't say, I can already guess the general idea. Renji chuckled, stood up, and walked over to Nogi, patting his shoulder. It was a simple gesture. But it made Nogi Hideki, a man well acquainted with the underworld, tense up. For some reason, this teenager radiated an overwhelming aura of danger. You don't need me for this. Just go talk to him yourself. I'm sure the old man would be very interested. Huh? If that's all, I'll be going now. Renji turned to leave again. But Nogi called out to him once more. Wait. Is there something else? About the gladiator. Nogi Hideki replied, cold sweat running down his face. As you know, my fighter has already been injured by you, and the next Kengan match is the day after tomorrow. So what? Don't tell me you want me to be your gladiator? Takuman Renji laughed. Don't joke. If you do that, you might lose your head. Besides. Renji turned and started walking forward. No one would allow someone who breaks the balance of the game to enter. It would ruin all the fun. At the door, he turned back and glanced at the now nearly petrified Yamashita Kazuo and the tense secretary Aki Yamakta. What your Nogi president said just now. Keep it to yourselves. The two of them nodded furiously. Good. Mr. Takuman. President Nogi, that guy Takata Ouma should be fully recovered by today. He'll be fine to fight in the match the day after tomorrow. However, he gave Nogi a mocking smile. Against that old man's gladiator, he's probably going to die. I'm well aware. I see. Then it looks like you've got your own plans. I wish you the best. By the time Takuman Renji left the hospital, it was nearly noon. After a moment of thought, he took out his phone and dialed one of the very few numbers in his contact list. Yo, old man Katahira, still alive? Chapter 110, I forgot my wallet. In the outskirts of Tokyo's Setagaya district, not far from the hospital, there was a family restaurant. Inside, customers all wore nervous expressions as they glanced toward the center of the dining area. Sitting there was a towering man, well over 2 meters tall. His bulging muscles stretched his suit tightly, and even from a distance, the sharpness of his gaze exuded pressure. An aura of "don't come near me" radiated from him constantly, as if getting close meant certain death. Yet what those scared onlookers didn't know was that this beast of a man was also tense. He was on guard against the blonde teenager sitting opposite him, who was only about 175 centimeters tall and looked rather slender. It's been 4 years, hasn't it, Kana Ajido? The man's name was Kana Ajido. With monstrous physique and honed instincts, he was the personal gladiator of Nippon Bank's president and the Kengan Association's chairman, Katahiro Matsudo. He was known as the fifth fang of Matsudo. A man born for battle, undefeated in his lifetime. And yet, He was more cautious of Takeman Renji than anyone else. Mr. Takeman. Are you here to see Lord Katahara? More or less. Haven't seen that old man in a while. I just called him, and he invited me to drop by. Sounds like he's still full of energy. Renji sipped from his drink on the table and smiled at Kana. You're here to escort me? Yes. Kana, whose expression was always cold and stern, wasn't a talkative type. As he stared at Renji, he remembered the day they first met. Flashback, 4 years ago. I don't know why Chairman Katahara asked me to fight a kid like you, but I guess I have no choice. Sorry. In an open-air training ground, suited bodyguards formed a ring. At the center stood the shirtless and muscular Kana Agito, facing off against a 12-year-old boy. He didn't understand why, after all the battles and victories he'd had, he was suddenly being ordered to fight a child. He glanced at the old man watching from the side with a cane. The elder nodded with a smile. Kana stepped forward toward the young Renji. Sorry, kid. Bad luck. As soon as he finished speaking, Kana's eyes narrowed. He threw a punch so powerful it split the air and aimed directly at Renji's head. Clang. The black-suited men around them all gasped in shock. Except the old man, who wore a faint smile. Kana felt pain shoot through his fist. The boy had taken the punch head-on without even moving. You're called Kana Agito, right? The young Renji said calmly, his red eyes void of emotion. Those eyes didn't seem human. Let me ask. If I said I didn't feel a thing from that punch, would it hurt your pride? Kana instinctively took 2 steps back. In that instant, he had felt a chill. His entire body screaming at him to run. I'm afraid? Me? The strongest sword of the Dainapon Bank? The 5th Fang of Metsudo? Afraid of a child? Ah! Consumed by shame, he roared and delivered a roundhouse kick toward Renji's head with all his strength. Crack! A moment later, searing pain flooded his leg. His right shin had been shattered, twisted 90 degrees, the bone piercing through the skin as blood poured out. Ugh! When you fought me, you treated it like a game. Renji stepped forward, staring coldly at Kana, who was drenched in cold sweat but hadn't screamed from the pain. Baring your fangs at your prey. That's amateurish. It'll get you killed. That day, Kana understood something. This child before him wasn't human. Back to present after that, Kana's leg was treated thanks to Katahara's efforts. Since then, he had trained obsessively to erase the shame of not just defeat, but fear. Now, after 4 years, Renji was back in Japan, seated right in front of him. Kana. I really hate to say this here, but I think I need to bring it up. Renji lowered his head slightly, hair covering his eyes. Kuroki tensed immediately, unsure what this terrifying figure had in mind. I forgot my wallet today. Huh? Seeing Kana's dumbfounded face, Renji scratched the back of his head awkwardly. I rushed out to the hospital after getting a call. Forgot my wallet at the president's place. I ordered a cola and an Almaris while waiting for you. But now, well, turns out I can't pay. So, Kana, did you bring money? Of course, he did have money. Yamashita Kazuo had returned his check. But it was for several million yen. Using that to pay for lunch would be insane. No way. You didn't bring any either? Renji widened his eyes. I'll pay. Big-hearted guy. Renji gave him a thumbs up. Mr. Takeman, back to business. Why did you come to Japan to meet Lord Katahara? You know what I did 4 years ago, right? Yes. You dealt a heavy blow to the Shinomiya family. Chairman Katahara also made a fortune off that. Kana frowned. Did someone find out? Yeah, but it's not a big issue. Renji smiled. Then you must know what happened right before I made my move. President Amano of Amano Pharmaceuticals committed suicide. That's right. Before his death, Uncle Amano told me that work had caused a rift between him and his wife. It was his biggest regret. He always cared about his family. Supposedly had a son and a daughter. You want to? I want to restart Amano Pharmaceuticals. And find his family. But to raise funds quickly, I need the old man's help with a little matter. Chapter 111, Child of Catastrophe. In a sprawling traditional Japanese garden, numerous servants moved busily from room to room. Inside one of the rooms, an elderly man knelt calmly on a tatami mat, leisurely sipping tea. Standing beside him were 2 burly bodyguards in suits. Their eyes remained locked on Takeman Renji, who sat cross-legged in front of them. The old man set down his teacup and slowly opened his eyes, which had remained shut until now, revealing a gaze that radiated intimidation. It's been 4 years, hasn't it? It really has, old man Katahara. Takeman Renji replied with a smile. The old man before him was none other than Katahara Metsudo, president of Dainapon Bank. Katahara tilted his head slightly and turned to the 2 guards beside him. You two, step outside for now. But Chairman Katahara. If little Rinji here wanted to kill me, even if you two joined forces with Kanaachido, none of you could stop him. Besides, he wouldn't harm me. Understood. The two bodyguards exchanged a glance, then turned to leave. Before stepping out, they made sure to close the door behind them. Even after stepping outside, they remained stationed by the entrance, ready to charge in at the first sign of danger. As soon as the two men left, Katahiro Matsudo's face immediately broke into a grin. Little Rinji, you returned to Japan and didn't even tell this old man? That's a bit cold, isn't it? I've told you before. Come visit whenever you've got time. Ha ha ha, I've just been busy. School just started, and there's a lot going on. Takuman Rinji chuckled in reply. And I've been busy lately with final exams. I originally planned to visit you during summer vacation. Time flies. 4 years ago, you were still just a child, and now you've grown into a young man. Katahiro Matsudo sipped his tea, a faint smile playing on his lips. How's your father doing? He's doing well. Lives peacefully, growing vegetables in the farm every day. Takuman Rinji replied. Why are you suddenly bringing up my old man? Don't tell me he owes your bank money. Oh, of course not. Being able to lend money to that gentleman is an honor in itself. Even if he borrowed from me, I wouldn't ask for it back. Katahira chuckled oddly. He looked closely at Takuman Rinji, seemingly trying to find traces of that man in him. Everyone who lived through that era feared your father like a natural disaster. Because humans can't take revenge on disasters. Is that so? I never figured out what was so scary about him. Takuman thought back to his father, a pure-hearted optimist. Apart from smashing the keyboard when teammates screwed up in games, he seemed completely harmless. Old man, don't tell me you're afraid of my dad too? No. Quite the opposite. I genuinely respect that man. Katahiro waved his hand, a strange grin forming on his wrinkled face. After all, he was the kind of man who dared to aim a nuclear missile at Washington, D.C. I admired his youthful madness for a long time. What's so impressive about that? Takuman said, clearly unimpressed. When I first heard the news, I was thrilled. That gentleman and I both despise the United States, after all. Ha ha ha, my dad doesn't just hate the US. Takuman burst out laughing, but then his eyes suddenly sharpened. Don't forget, he's Chinese. He hates Japan too. Especially those little devils who participated in World War II. The atmosphere instantly turned heavy and tense. Katahiro calmly picked up his cup and took another sip, then suddenly smiled. Then you must have misunderstood me. I joined the military in the final years of the war. I only participated in the Pacific Front. Against Americans. I've never been to China in my entire life. Ha 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 ha, can I take that as your way of saving face? Oh. Certainly. Katahira set the cup down, his eyes still full of amusement. You're his son. Truly a child of catastrophe. You've perfectly inherited that same madness. The kind that disregards morality and humanity in pursuit of pure gain. Then why did you work with me back then? Disasters, whether natural or man-made, can both overturn and support a boat. And history has proven that my decision was the right one. Exactly. The Shinomiya family's assets were enough to keep you fed for a long while. Takuman said with a grin. Anyway, I'm here for more than just reminiscing today. What is it? Someone found out about our old deal. Oh? Who? Nogi Hidegi, the president of the Nogi group. Takuman answered. But the reason he brought it up wasn't because he's stupid. He wanted me to pass the message on to you. While using it to pressure you into agreeing to his demands. What demands? He probably wants to challenge you for the position of Kengan Association president. Through a Kengan match, so I'm asking, are you scared? After a moment of silence, Katahira's lips slowly curled into a grin. Interesting. Very interesting. I've held this position long enough. It's about time for something exciting. Knew you'd say that. But I didn't just come here to talk about this. Takuman placed a stack of documents in front of Katahira. I want to set up a company in Japan. Going through your connections will make the approval process faster. Amano Pharmaceuticals, huh? No problem. The approval will come quickly. Katahira agreed. Anything else? Get me a Kengan Association membership card. You want to participate in the Kengan matches? He had no problem approving the company, but he hesitated at the mention of joining the Kengan fights. Katahira knew all too well what Takuman was capable of. If he stepped into the arena, every match would become a one-sided massacre. Utterly boring. I know what you're worried about. I won't be entering myself. Takuman smiled. This is an arena where merchants bet their profits. If an out-of-spec monster like me joined, your economy might just collapse. That's true. Then what do you want the membership for? To place some bets. Make a little pocket money. In that case, it's no problem. Katahira pulled a wooden badge from inside his robe and handed it to Takuman, who pocketed it and thanked him, getting ready to leave. One question. Katahira suddenly said. What is it? Are you restarting Amano Pharmaceuticals as a way to get revenge on the Shinomiya family? Revenge? Takuman let out a chuckle. I have no grudge against them. Killing them was just something I did on a whim. I'm very simple like that. When a thought enters my head, I act on it right away. As for restarting Amano Pharmaceuticals, it's simply because I want to develop it, then pass it on to Uncle Amano's children if I can find them. Chapter 112, Miyuki Shiragane's Date Plan President, the club budget proposal is finished. Please take a look. On Monday noon, Takuman Rinji entered the student council office and placed a USB stick on Miyuki Shiragane's desk. Oh, thanks for your hard work. Miyuki inserted the USB into his laptop and opened the document. Rinji sat on the sofa as usual, looked up, and said, I've already informed everyone in the group chat about the exact time for the summer fireworks festival. Secretary Fujiwara and Ishigami both said it's fine. Only thing is, you'll need to inform Shinomiya heirs yourself. You want me to personally invite Shinomiya? Miyuki fell silent. Since Kaguya Shinomiya still used a flip phone from 10 years ago instead of a smartphone, she couldn't use apps like Line. Any messages had to be sent to her directly by text. Personally inviting Shinomiya to the fireworks festival, isn't that kind of like? It's nothing like that. Rinji had already guessed what Miyuki was thinking. This is an event for all student council members. There's no way it could be mistaken for a date. You're just passing on the time. Oh. Right. That makes sense. Of course, while it looks like a group event on the surface, that doesn't mean there's no room for maneuvering. A glint of intelligence flashed in Rinji's eyes as he pulled a map of the festival venue from his pocket and slapped it onto Miyuki's desk. Pointing to the entrance, he said, according to intel I got from Ishigami this morning. Related to Gal Games. First, the 5 student council members meet up at the entrance. Then we stroll through the festival booths together and head to the lake when it's time to watch the fireworks. Yeah, that's the plan. That plan is just a decoy. The real strategy comes after. Rinji picked up a marker and circled a spot along the path they would take. This spot is the most crowded area. When the 5 of us reach here, we suddenly pull back, leaving Shinomiya there alone. Eh? And here comes the key part. Rinji said with a grin. Ishigami and I will stall Fujiwara. You, President, take that chance to go find her. Don't worry. My eyes will be on the ground, making sure you locate her right away. But why go through all this? Miyuki was genuinely confused. Ishigami told me that in many romance games, there's a classic scenario where the heroine gets separated during the fireworks festival. Like her sandal strap breaks, or she gets lost somehow. Then she hides in a corner, scared or crying, and that's when the male lead heroically appears. According to Ishigami, this is the moment where affection levels skyrocket. Oh, so that's a thing? Miyuki's eyes lit up. He was honestly impressed by the cleverness of the plan. His mind began to imagine the scene already. Inside Miyuki's imagination. Oh. Where did everyone go? Kaguya, dressed in a beautiful yukata, squatted in a corner crying. Kaguya. Just then, Miyuki himself appeared before her, wearing a gentle smile. President. Seeing him, Kaguya ran to him, throwing herself into his arms. President, I was so scared. Don't worry. No matter where you are, I'll always find you. President. End of imagination. Incredible. This might really work. Miyuki said, genuinely amazed. As expected of you, President. Even I didn't understand half of what Ishigami was saying, but you seemed to grasp it perfectly. This morning, Ishigami had gone on and on about various game plots and hidden endings. Rinji had been completely lost, but at least he remembered the gist of it. Pretty solid plan, right? Not bad. But there's one issue. Miyuki said, his tone suddenly heavy. What is it? Even if this plan is flawless, how should I put it? He turned his head to the side. If I had to intentionally abandon Shinomiya in the crowd to make her scared, even if it worked in the end, I don't think I could forgive myself. Miyuki simply couldn't bear the thought of hurting Kaguya, not even a little. That's fine. We have plan B. There's a plan B? Yup. This one's much simpler. Rinji pointed the marker again at the previously circled area. It's simple. When the 5 of us get to this point, Ishigami, Fujiwara, and I will walk in one direction, while you and Miss Shinomiya head down the original path. That's not a problem. Miyuki thought about it. That would naturally create a scenario where he and Kaguya would be alone. A de facto date. Not bad at all. But Ishigami is easy to handle. How do you plan to keep Fujiwara occupied? Miyuki asked, puzzled. President, haven't you noticed something about the stalls along this street? Stalls, huh? Miyuki Shire again studied the map. Since it was included in the fireworks festival flyer, each stall's purpose was marked. Is there something odd about the stalls? There are 3 ramen stands. Takuman Renji said. Secretary Fujiwara seems to really like ramen. So when the time comes, just say, let's go grab some ramen together. That'll naturally get her to leave, and then you and Miss Shinomiya can slip away. I think that's a solid idea. I'm just worried Secretary Fujiwara might not go along with it. Fujiwara-chika didn't follow any logical behavior patterns. She acted purely on impulse, doing whatever came to mind. That part, oddly enough, was somewhat similar to Takuman himself. No need to worry, President. I've already come up with a perfect contingency plan for Fujiwara. Oh? Look. Takuman reached into his pocket and pulled out a dark, mysterious object. What's that? A razor? BZT. A stun gun? What the hell? That's right. Takuman looked up proudly. If Secretary Fujiwara acts out of line, we'll just have to let her take a short nap. Don't do that. She's a member of the student council. Great men don't sweat the details. And it's just a light stun. Please don't. Chapter 113, Memory Erasing Technique. Didn't expect the president to be in another meeting. He's always busy. Secretary Fujiwara went to a board game club event, and Ishigami usually just goes home once there's no work left in the council. So that means this situation again. Seems like it. Kaguya Shinomiya calmly sipped her tea and shook her head. After school, during club time, the student council office was once again left with just Takuman Renji and Kaguya Shinomiya. Since Momo's mobile game activities had ended early today, he finished his already non-existent club duties even earlier than usual. With time to kill, he came to the office. Only to find Kaguya alone. When was the last time it was just the two of us in the student council office? Renji sprawled out on the sofa, thinking. Wasn't it that time a second-year girl came to ask for a breakup? That was Nagiza Kashiwagi. She's officially dating that guy Tanuma Tsubasa now. Good for them. So when are they breaking up? They just started dating, and you're already hoping for a breakup? How dark is your mind? Bound to happen eventually. Speaking of which, Shinomiya heiress. Renji tilted his head and looked at her. As the eldest daughter of the Shinomiya family head, you'll have to return to the main estate over summer break, right? Yes. Kaguya replied. But her expression was clearly gloomy. She didn't want to go back to that loveless place, but every year, she was summoned without fail. It's fine if you go, but pass along a message to the Shinomiya family for me. A message? I'm starting a company. It's called Amano Pharmaceuticals. You're bringing this up just to ask for investment? Who wants your family's money? I just want you to tell your people not to interfere with my business. Otherwise. Otherwise what? Nothing much. Renji said lazily. Their whole family dies, that's all. I'll pass along your message. Good. Make sure they understand how serious this is. Next time, it won't just be a few subsidiary employees dying. Renji stood up and walked toward the student council office door. Since only Kaguya was here, staying any longer would just be awkward. Currently, Takuman Renji had exchanged his $23 million into 2.3 billion yen. 1 billion yen went toward registering the company, and the rest would be invested gradually. For staff, he'd pull from his research division first. If that wasn't enough, he'd just poach from other pharmaceutical companies. Such companies usually didn't handle money well, so he was planning to make a bit of cash through Kengan matches via betting. He hoped that by the time he handed the company over to Uncle Amano's children, it would already be sizable. However, come to think of it, Uncle Amano's eldest daughter should only be in middle school now. It'll be a while before she's of age. Just as he was deep in thought, a female voice called out to him. Are you Takuman-kun? He turned and found a cute girl with long light purple hair standing there. He had no recollection of her. And you are? You've seen me before, I think. I'm Karen Kaino from the Mass Media Club. Oh, Kaino-san. Renji nodded, though he still didn't remember her. He had visited the Mass Media Club while auditing the club's quarterly budgets. Back then, he was greeted by a girl named Kyosarika. As for this one, he might have seen her, but had no memory of it. What do you need, Kaino-san? Since you're the student council's treasurer, I thought you'd be familiar with what's going on inside, right? Karen asked excitedly. Oh. An interview? Is President Shire again dating Vice President Shinomiya? Seeing Karen Kaino's eager, sparkly eyes, Renji fell silent. Is this information accurate? Where did you hear that? His eyes narrowed. Miyuki had specifically told him not to let this get out. Which meant. He'd have to start handling the source. I saw it with my own eyes. Just last month, I went to the cinema. I happened to see the president and vice president go into the same theater. When I snuck in out of curiosity, I saw them sitting together. You must have been mistaken. Impossible. Karen said, annoyed. They're the two brightest stars in Shushan. I wouldn't mistake them for anyone. Oh. Still giddy, Karen failed to notice that Renji's gaze had turned sharp. Such a romantic story. No proof, though. Did you take a photo of their date? My phone battery was almost dead, so I couldn't take a picture. Damn it. I should have captured such an epic moment forever. What a blunder. That's unfortunate. Renji smiled, but in his mind, no evidence. That means the rumor can still be contained. The key now is how to deal with her. Kaino-san, give me a moment. I need to make a quick call. Then I'll tell you everything about the president. Please do. Leaving Karen Kaino and her sparkly gaze behind, Renji turned the corner and dialed Miyuki's number. Hello? Hey President, finished with the meeting? Just finished. What's going on? About that. Someone seems to have found out you watched a movie with Shinomiya. What? A girl from the mass media club named Karen Kaino. How? How could this happen? Though Renji couldn't see Miyuki's face, he could tell from the tone that he was panicking. What do you want me to do? Bury her in Tokyo Bay? Or send her to Africa? Stop talking like that. Even Miyuki was flustered. He had been very cautious during the movie date. No schoolmates around, and Fujiwara had been dealt with by Renji. By all logic, there should have been no witnesses. Is there a way to make her lose her memory? Miyuki regretted it as soon as he said it. What kind of nonsense was that? There's no such thing. He had let panic get the better of him. But to his surprise, Renji's eyes suddenly sharpened. President, are you sure that memory loss will solve the issue? Huh? Got it. Leave it to me. And with that, Renji hung up, pulled a pair of black gloves from his pocket, and put them on. He adjusted his disguise, put on a gentle smile, and walked back toward Karen. Kaino-san, I've finished the call. So can you tell me about them now? You really want to hear about the president and Miss Shinomiya? Of course. Karen said loudly, I've been shipping that couple since before I was born. Takuman Renji didn't understand what shipping or CP meant, so he interpreted it as central processor. This isn't the right place to talk. Let's find an empty room. Sure. Completely unaware, Karen followed him into a vacant club room. She sat eagerly on a chair, eyes sparkling. Do you know any juicy details? Like when they started dating? No rush. Takuman walked behind her and said softly, Kaino-san, try to remember clearly. Which movie theater did you see them in? Think back to every detail. Huh? Let me think. She touched her chin in a dreamy daze. President Shirogane and Vice President Shinomiya were like the perfect couple. Sitting side by side, leaning on each other, and then... Grrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrr surged through her body, and she collapsed unconscious, foaming slightly at the mouth. Standing behind her, Takuman wore a cold expression, holding a crackling stun gun. Electroshock therapy, also called shock therapy, is a method using electric currents to stimulate the brain, often to treat certain mental conditions. Though controversial for its harshness, some researchers found that shocks during memory recall can erase the memory altogether. Takuman had tested this 2 years ago. Successfully. Watching Karen unconscious, he picked up his phone. Renji. Was that? Relax, President. The memory's wiped. Eh? Is Kaino-san okay? Miyuki sounded panicked. She's fine. Just lost some memories. Takuman replied with a smile. Oh, good. Chapter 114, Shiijo Maki-uck. My head hurts. Karen rubbed her temples, feeling like she'd been hit by a truck. You're awake? Eh? Takuman-kun? She looked around in confusion. Did I fall asleep? Yep. You came to find me, but then just collapsed on the desk and fell asleep. Renji said with a smile. By the way, what did you need? Oh right, what did I even came to ask you about? She scratched her head, completely puzzled. She knew she came to talk to Takuman about something important, but for the life of her, she couldn't recall what. Did you forget, Kaino-san? Renji tested her. I remember you mentioned something about a movie theater, didn't you? Movie theater? I haven't been to one in over a month. I see. Renji nodded, the corners of his lips lifting slightly. Not only had she forgotten the movie with Shirigane and Shinomiya, she didn't even remember going to the theater. Memory erasure, successful. I'm really sorry, Takuman-kun. Karen stood up and bowed. I barged in, Forgot what I wanted to say, then just passed out. It's fine, you're probably just exhausted. Go get some rest. Rinji opened the classroom door. It's about time school lets out. Head on home. Okay. Karen didn't suspect anything and happily left. As he watched her walk away, Rinji let out a small sigh. Looks like President's request was fulfilled successfully. Wait. I just remembered. Kaino's sudden return caught Rinji off guard. She ran back to him, determined. He froze as thoughts raced through his mind. What the hell? Was the memory erasure not thorough? Was the voltage too low? Should I shock her again? Or just send her straight to Africa? I remembered what I wanted to talk to you about, Karen said with conviction. Oh? That's great. What did you want to ask? Rinji's voice was calm, but his hand gripped the stun baton in his pocket. If she remembered the wrong thing, he'd have to wipe her memory again. Do you know anything about Danuma Tsubasa from Class 2B? You don't? I do. Rinji let go of the baton and gestured to the room. Come in. So you're saying this guy, Danuma Tsubasa, came to the student council for love advice because of you? Well, don't say I instigated him. Let's just say I suggested it. Karen sighed. Anyway, he confessed to Kashiwagi after your advice, and now the two of them are really happy. Sounds great, then. Yeah, but... Her eyes wandered, unfocused. I feel like I betrayed a friend. Huh? Takuman-kun, can I ask something personal? It's... about a friend. Sure, go ahead. He was a little curious, but figured it was a friendship thing, so he didn't dig too deep. My friend has a bestie who's had a long-time crush on a guy, but she never had the courage to confess. One day, that guy decided to confess his feelings, and... my friend thought this was her bestie's chance, so she helped him prepare. But... he confessed to another girl instead. Her bestie was heartbroken. She looked at Rinji expectantly. So... is it my friend's fault? Rinji thought for a moment. Your friend sounds like a caring person. Someone who genuinely worries about her bestie. Really? Karen brightened up immediately. Calm down, sit. Why are you so excited about your friend's story? Ahaha, yeah, right. She sat back down, smiling. She has good intentions. She looks out for her friends. Yes. She should be executed. Huh? Eh? Karen froze. Why? Meddling in others' love lives never ends well. She didn't confirm anything, just acted on her own. If her bestie got heartbroken, it's partly her fault. Oh, I'm talking about your friend, don't be sad. She sat like a guilty child, shivering in her seat. Wait a second, Rinji suddenly realized something. You just told me you sent Danuma to the council. So your friend is... Ahaha, I have no idea what you're talking about. Karen jumped up, cold sweat running down her face, flashing an obviously fake elegant smile. I have stuff to do, I'll get going. Thanks for helping. No problem. Rinji said. By the way, is your friend's bestie a student here at Shuchin? Huh? If not, no big deal. But if she is, have her come to the student council office. I've had my heart broken too. I'd be happy to offer her some emotional support. Thank you so much. The next day, Takuman Rinji. During lunch, he was the only one in the student council office. Except for one guest, sitting on the sofa in front of him. She had brown twin tails and a slightly arrogant expression. But somehow, Rinji thought her face looked a bit familiar. Like Shinomiya Kaguya. Ugh, do I have to see your annoying face in broad daylight? Hey! Why are you insulting me the moment we meet? The girl shouted indignantly. Sorry, what's your name again? Shijo Maki. Chapter 115, Why aren't you laughing anymore? My name is Shijo Maki. She introduced herself. Third year in our grade, the rightful heir to the Shinomiya family bloodline. The Shijo family, huh? The Shijo family was a branch of the Shinomiya family. Though a branch family, their relationship with the Shinomiya main family was hostile. Nearly antagonistic. Their enmity dated back decades, to internal conflicts within the Shinomiya clan. After the Plaza Accord, Japan entered an era of rapid economic growth. The Shinomiya family took a self-serving approach during that time. However, their inhumane methods caused discontent among the moderate faction within the family. Clashes erupted between the radicals and the moderates, eventually escalating to a violent confrontation that led to casualties. One of whom was a member of the Shijo branch family. In the end, the radicals expelled the moderates from the Shinomiya household. Shut out of Japanese business by the main family, the moderates established their own enterprise overseas, naming it after their fallen member. Shijo. It grew quickly, driven by hatred for the Shinomiyas. And now, sitting before Takuman Rinji, was none other than the Shijo family's heiress. I see. So you're from the Shijo family. Exactly. What a pain. It's bad enough having Shinomiya Kaguya in the student council. Now even the visitors are tied to that family? Hey. Sorry. Takumin waved it off, ending the topic. So, what brings the Shijo heiress here? It's nothing major. Shijo Maki leaned into the sofa, her face wearing a smug expression. As expected from a wealthy heiress. Karen Kaino told me to come. Kaino-san, huh? Takumin remembered he had told her yesterday, if your friend's bestie is heartbroken, she can come to the student council for some counseling. He was tempted to ask if Maki was the one who got rejected. But then recalled what Kaino said before leaving yesterday. Takumin-kun, when she comes to you tomorrow, can you not say the word heartbreak? Why? Because that word will hurt her. Her pride won't allow her to admit she got rejected. Karen said with difficulty. And I can't exactly tell her you got dumped, go get counseling either. She'd never show up. What a hassle. Please, I'm begging you. Alright. I'll avoid the word. I'll be subtle about it. Thank you so much. Shijo-san, may I ask something? Takumin looked at her with sincerity. What is it? She smiled. Feel free to ask. Did the guy you like run off with another girl? I mean, the person you liked. Here, tissue. Seeing Shijo's expression crumble into teary eyes, Takumin sighed and handed her a tissue. I wasn't dumped. Alright. You weren't dumped. This was getting interesting. Based on Karen's story yesterday, the friend was likely Kaino herself, and the bestie was the girl sitting in front of him. Shijo Maki. As for the boy she liked, it was probably Tanuma Tsubasa. Takumin was genuinely surprised someone would actually have a crush on that guy. He looked at Shijo, who had wiped away her tears and returned to her proud, noble expression, and asked cautiously, so? Shijo-san, do you like that guy in your class, Tanuma Tsubasa? Huh? Why would I like him? She gave him a look like he was an idiot. As the Shijo family's heir, with Shinomiya blood in my veins, why would I waste my time on something like a romance game? Takumin. Oh, of course. She suddenly switched to a tsundere tone. If he confessed to me, maybe I'd consider dating him. I see. So it doesn't matter anymore. That makes this easier. Takumin smiled. Tanuma Tsubasa and Kashiwagi Nagisa are officially a couple now, so you don't have to worry about this whole romance game thing anymore. It's already over. Here, tissue. As Maki's eyes welled up again, he handed her another tissue. Humphrey. After wiping her tears, she regained her haughty attitude. So I don't like him, and I wasn't dumped. No heartbreak. That's boring. Huh? If you don't share your heartbreak, how am I supposed to enjoy it? Takumin said. Come on, tell me. Let me have some fun. What's wrong with your brain? Maki slammed the coffee table. Don't be like that. I'm just trying to help. Takumin grinned. I'd love to break those two up. I'd love to help you get Tanuma back. Really? You'd help me? Her proud expression shifted into that of a touched girl. Takumin was honestly impressed by her rapid emotional transformations. Why would you help me? Because I've been through heartbreak too. You? Yep. So I can help you steal him back. Ha. Maki pointed at him and laughed. You got dumped? That's hilarious. Takumin. Don't lump me in with normal girls. I didn't get dumped. She flashed a proud smile. Kashiwagi Nagisa is my friend. Only commoners would try to steal their friend's boyfriend. Oh, friends, huh? Takumin suddenly smiled. That's great then. You can be the bridesmaid at their wedding, watch them exchange rings up close, and even help take care of their kid when they go on their honeymoon. Huh? Shijo-san, why aren't you laughing anymore? Chapter 116, is tormenting me really that fun? Why? Why would you say something so cruel? I was just painting a picture of the future. You said you weren't heartbroken, and Kashiwagi's your friend. Okay, I'll stop. Don't look at me with those puppy dog eyes. No one could switch between a proud heiress and a heartbroken girl like Shijo Maki. Takumin had to admit. It was kind of entertaining. But seriously, if it's not about romance, what brings you to the student council? Well, of course it's. Maki became evasive. Even though she was making it obvious, admitting her feelings for Tanuma Tsubasa out loud was clearly still too difficult. Takumin couldn't tell why she was so conflicted. So you really don't like Tanuma? Of course not. Really? Do I need to say it twice? She returned to her haughty tone. Alright, my bad for asking twice. In that case, you're good. When they get married, just wish them well and maybe give them a wedding gift. Here, the student council has plenty of tissues. Her proud facade lasted less than a minute. Ugh. Let me ask again. Do you like Danuma? Yeah. Got it. The student council's job is to help students. Even if the president isn't here, as treasurer, I can step in. Tell me what you want, and I'll help. You'll really help me? Absolutely. Takuman smiled. So, what kind of help do you want? A heartbreak recovery plan? I told you I wasn't dumped. But you admitted you like him, and he's dating your classmate, so logically you're pretty thoroughly heartbroken. Fine, I won't say it again. Seeing her stare daggers at him with tears falling again, Takuman wisely chose to shut up. After all, he had been heartbroken before. Pressing further now would only shatter her. So then. Shijomaki looked at him with watery eyes. Do you think I still have a chance? Takuman, I don't have to think. You definitely don't. Shijomaki, QQ Takuman, I mean. Yes, of course. Who knows, maybe those two lovebirds will break up sometime soon. I won't allow you to speak of Danuma like that. I just don't get why you were so desperate to deny liking him in the first place. Takuman said with a wry smile. Anyway, look for an opportunity. If they ever do break up. They were supposed to break up. Shijomaki was visibly irritated. Back then, Kashiwagi was actually thinking about ending the relationship because Danuma confessed and didn't follow up with anything. But then, her expression turned angry. Danuma somehow got some information from the student council and came back acting unusually proactive. Suddenly, the two of them patched things up and even started going out passionately. So it was the student council. Who the hell was so nosy? Takuman Rinji was about to say something when a memory suddenly resurfaced. I guarantee if you don't do something, Kashiwagi-san really is going to break up with you. That might have been something he said. You remember now? Who was it that stuck their nose into all this? Shijomaki asked. Shinomiya Kaguya. Rinji promptly dumped the blame. Shinomiya Kaguya. Damn it, so it was someone from the Shinomiya family messing with me again? Shijomaki said, furious. Exactly, that woman. I've been annoyed with her for a while now. Rinji wasn't even lying. Kaguya really was involved in that matter. Looks like there's no chance of them breaking up now. Shijomaki sighed. She couldn't really bring herself to resort to underhanded tactics to break them up. Yeah, we'll just have to wait. How long? Let me think. If things stay the way they are, probably until they get married. After that, maybe you'll get a chance during their midlife crisis. Okay, don't cry, that's just speculation. Shijomaki, realistically speaking, if they go to different universities, that would be your best bet. Long-distance relationships open up opportunities. I have to wait until college. That's the optimistic scenario. Long-distance makes breakups more likely, but not guaranteed. And by then, the guy would be of legal age to marry in Japan. He might just register the marriage during college. Shijo-san, you're about to run out of tissues. You're a devil. Is tormenting me really that fun? Don't accuse me like that. I'm just pointing out plausible outcomes. And frankly, the odds of those things happening to you are kinda high. Okay, hang on a second. Seeing her already finish one entire box of tissues, Rinji pulled out another one from the nearby cabinet and placed it on the coffee table. Shijomaki blew her nose and wiped her tears, sighing softly. So all of this happened because I didn't confess in time? As they talked, she began to reflect on her own mistakes. However, she was still talking to Takuman Rinji. No, believe me on this one. Confessing wouldn't have helped. You did the right thing. Huh? Think about it. If he didn't like you, would your confession have succeeded? Rinji asked. Probably not, but how do you know he didn't like me? If he liked you, why did he confess to Kashiwagi and not you? Isn't that obvious? If you had confessed, it would have played out like this. You confess to Tanuma, and he says you're a good person, but I only see you as a friend. Then the next day he confesses to Kashiwagi, and during their relationship, he even says, Shijo confessed to me but I turned her down. My heart has always belonged to you. Something like that. Thud. Perhaps imagining that scenario too vividly, Shijomaki collapsed off the sofa, her tears dripping onto the floor as despair twisted her face. Shijo-san? Shijo-san, are you okay? I'm fine. Just let me die. Okay, just don't actually die. Chapter 117, Shirogane Miyuki wants a part-time job. All things considered, your best option now is to keep a calm mind. You're telling me to wait for a chance, with a peaceful attitude? No, I never said you have a chance. Okay, fine, you do. At least for these next few high school months, keep an eye on things. Seeing Shijomaki about to tear through the second box of tissues, Rinji finally offered a bit of comfort. Anyway, Summer break's almost here. Who knows, maybe they'll break up over the summer. That's true. Shijo Maki's face lit up with a confident smile. Humphrey. Tanum is just a rookie at love. Maybe he'll get dumped after a single summer. They haven't even held hands yet. Right. No idea where your confidence is coming from, but sure, hold on to it. Rinji said with a chuckle. Ah, I'm glad I came to talk to you at the student council. I feel a lot better now. Is that so? Maybe I have a knack for comforting people. Rinji had already forgotten how much he had emotionally devastated her just minutes ago. Use the summer to reset your mindset too. Maybe go traveling. You're right. But where should I go? Afghanistan. Highly recommended. Rinji gave her a big thumbs up. When I got dumped, I went to Afghanistan and stayed for a few years. Worked wonders. What the hell kind of suggestion is that? Hey, where's Takumin today? Anyone know? The next day during lunch, the student council gathered in their usual room. Except Rinji wasn't there. His absence was so rare that Shirogane Miyuki couldn't help but notice. Normally, anyone could be missing. But never Takumin Rinji. He always showed up for lunch. Hey, you're right. Takumin-kun's not here today. Fujiwara Chika said, now realizing it too. It's not such a big deal. Maybe he just wanted to eat lunch somewhere else for a change? Kaguya said with a light smile. She didn't think it was particularly strange. Still feels a bit off. Shirogane turned to Ishigami Yu, who was quietly munching on bread. Ishigami, did you see Takumin today? Huh? Ishigami looked up, confused. You didn't know, President? Rinji called in sick today. Huh? Why? He's supposedly got a cold. A cold?